Hello, everyone, and welcome to Smashbox TV's podcast 408. Terry Miller, the disc golf guy, I think. Yeah. Here, alongside Johnny V.
Too bad this is 409, but that's okay.
Is it really?
It is.
Are you sure?
Terry, have I ever been wrong?
Yes, all the time.
I mean, I have been wrong, but I don't believe I am.
Oh. Well,
sorry about that, guys.
as you're asking if you've ever been wrong before.
So again, my microphone was blown out a little bit because, and Terry's probably echoing, during the weekend when we do the broadcasts, I have a different microphone that's a headset that I need to crank up the gain on. So right away, the gain was cranked and I forgot to turn it. I switched everything else up, but I forgot to hit the gain. Same thing I did last week. And
the week before that.
No, it was fine 2 weeks ago.
Sure.
Just the last
So
week.
You were talking about how you've never been wrong.
Continue on. I'm saying how I haven't. Yeah, I've never been wrong.
Okay. Well, either way, welcome everyone. We have Bradley Williams. He's going to be joining us here tonight. Sorry, you're.
I was pointing to you just to scroll down a little bit.
There you go. Gotcha.
Okay, what episode is it, Tara?
It's as I said, 409.
Like Formula 409.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
well,
cleaning the house.
Bradley Williams will be joining us in a little while. I believe he's getting some dinner and getting himself situated. Told him to take all the time he needs. We're kind of running around a little bit crazy here. It's been a hectic couple of days, and I'll give you my story. No one asked for it, but you're going to get it. After we wrapped up the preserve, which of course we're going to talk about and recap here in a little bit, I ended up I had a much later flight that went out on Monday instead of going out bright and early. And with that meant I got home at like 2 a.m. last night. I got home at 2 a.m. to then
So like 2 hours till your bedtime.
Yeah. Well, this morning then, I had to pick up my daughter, but then also had to rush off to Madison, which is about an hour to get over to Token Creek, which is where many of you, hopefully, watched and consumed the press conference today.
I did.
And that went 2.5 hours or so for me then to run around and essentially get back here to the Milwaukee area, not only to do our show, but also checking in over at Funky Farms. And then tomorrow, we're going to have an ordeal, which I'll discuss, and then turn around and then Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, back to Madison. So there's been a lot of moving parts for me.
I'll be doing a lot of that same running around, actually. I won't be nearly as obligated as you. I plan on heading out to Funky Farms tomorrow as well for a little bit. And then I'm going to work from my Madison office, quote-unquote work from my Madison office for like the morning till mid-afternoon before I come out to the event to kind of check out what's going on. I don't even know where they're going to be on Friday. I don't know if it's are they doing Elver high stand or Elver token?
No, they're doing the U.S. Women, yes. As we're discussing the United States Women's Disc Golf Championships. My last understanding, albeit brief, was that our FPO competitors will play Token Creek on Thursday, Token Creek on Friday, and then Elver on Saturday and Sunday. And quick plug, I think the Disc Golf guy is gonna officially have a booth set up with some stuff to sell. Some just random things. So if you hear me talking about random discs that have showed up that are available, I think there's some brand new Discmania that was being released tomorrow. Sky Gods, whatever it is. There's going to be a whole bunch of stuff available, and we'll be set up at Elver for the weekend as well. So real quick, let's give you guys all the update as much as I know and or can share. So as Johnny and I just alluded to and talked about, ultimately Ben Askren and the Disc Golf Pro Tour / Disc Golf Network were able to put together a fundraiser, charity, skins, celebrity, pro-am matchup. Now, this is I don't want much is maybe the right word. This is a scaled back version from what last year was. Last year, not only was there more time and a greater timeline to work with, but just in general, there were a few more celebrities, few more pros that were involved. This year, knowing that it was fit into a very specific timetable, there was some limitations, and certainly no one really wanted to take away the luster or shine that's going to be the U.S. Women's taking place literally just 45 minutes down the road the next day and over the next few days. So this also goes with saying, just like it was last year and just like it likely will be in any other future years, no matter what, this is always an invite event, and we hear the fans. The Disc Golf Pro Tour hears the fans. I'm sure Ben and all the celebrity hear the fans and the people, especially in the Milwaukee area, our hometown, that say, hey, we really want to come out and be part of it. This is exciting. This is awesome. Celebrities and top level golfers in the world are all right here in our backyard. The problem is this is not a public venue.
Not only is the venue not public, but it's not really set up for fans. Knowing the course, the way it runs on Ben's private property, it's not really fan friendly. I don't think you could fit more than 50 people comfortably to be able to watch and walk around without being in the way of a fairway or 3, knowing Ben's property. So I don't know if this particular event will ever be open to the fans, the one at Funky Farms. Now, we may have other celebrity pro-ams in the future that at other locations, and I'm sure maybe those will be open up to some fans, but this one is a much more intimate, private event. But my understanding is, obviously not to outshine USWDGC, they're going to take the footage that they film and they're going to stuff it away for a few months and probably use it as some sort of off-season content.
Yeah, GK Pro is heavily involved along with the Disc Golf Network, and that is exactly it. There's going to be a to be released later edition of all of this that will unfold at a later time. Of course, you'll be able to find that on Disc Golf Network, and so on and so forth. So just wanted to throw it out there that's where it's all at. I know there's a lot of questions, and quite honestly, it's a blessing in the first place that it was able to really be able to happen the way it did. Ben, I didn't see Ben. I don't think Ben's even in town today. So there was a gathering and a welcoming social tonight at his house, and he wasn't even in town yet because his schedule is so crazy that he's not even able to arrive and get into town until tomorrow. So that just shows how kind of crazy things have been for a lot of people, for us to be able to put it together to the extent that it is. So that's what I wanted to throw out there. Doesn't sound like I'll be in any capacity playing, which is probably best for everybody.
I wouldn't count on that. You never know if a celebrity doesn't show up, if a pro doesn't show up. Terry, you got to be ready.
There's a bunch of different hats. Huh?
Yeah. I mean, you're going to kind of be an MC this weekend, I believe. But
yeah. At any rate, that's the scoop, because you've heard Kat, Paige, and a few other people kind of lightly touch on it or discuss it or bring it up. But as far as I know of, that's the scoop. The one spoiler I'm going to share that even none of the celebrities know yet, the player pack that is brought to us in part by Discraft is insane. That's what I'm going to say. Everybody,
really? Last
year, the celebrities all got a player pack of sorts for just being there and being part of it. Yeah, I got a little sneak peek at the player pack, and of which they're not paying anything to participate, but the player pack is insane. And the other, I got another Smashbox exclusive. I believe it's somewhere in the tune of $20,000 is up for grabs that celebrities can then win for the charity of their choices. So,
how much?
$20,000.
How much?
$20K.
Okay.
All right. So that's what we know. And yeah.
Have you met my new charity?
Johnny V's house. Is that what the charity is called?
Yes.
As soon as I see your paperwork, I'd be happy to send a donation. I'd like to see your 501c3
working on it
status. So
working on
it. So of course we're going to be recapping the Preserve. We're going to talk to our MPO champion, Bradley Williams, in literally just a few moments. Also, we'll recap everything we saw on the FPO side, and then we'll touch a little bit on the AM Worlds from this last weekend. So I think if you're ready, he looks ready. If he wants to flip his camera, give it a 90-degree turn, it'll probably fill the screen magically. Look at that. Yeah. As he's coming in from our Disc Baron digital green room. Oh, this guy's like a pro and stuff.
He's got it. He's got it under control.
He's got it, folks. Bringing the hot sauce, bringing the mustard, bringing it all. Bradley Williams. What's up, buddy?
Where are you doing this from? Where are you right now, pal?
I'm in Madison, Wisconsin. I'm at the Vintage Brewery.
Okay.
Okay. Where is
We're
that?
having dinner as a group.
Is that downtown Madison? Is that on the east or west side?
It's like,
Okay.
I think it's like on the west side of Madison.
Okay.
Okay.
Vintage Brewery. It's got like cheese curds. They make their own beer.
Okay, you've just literally named every Wisconsin bar in
Cheese
every
curds
county.
and brewing beer.
That's
yeah.
right. You can't, obviously, as everybody says, you can't leave Wisconsin without getting some good cheese curds, either the squeaky cheese or the deep fried kind. Doesn't matter. Find whatever you have because we make the best cheese here. So
That's what we
facts.
do. All right, buddy. Yeah. Well, first and foremost, because I simply just got to watch it and talk about it, but it's great to see you. Congratulations on your weekend. 2 days later, how does it feel? How is it sunk in?
I still have that like golden hour like thing that's kind of happening. Like we went out and played this private course, just no warm up, no putts, and it's super wooded with like a cliff on either side of the fairway. And I literally just striped every fairway. I made every single 60-footer, 50-footer. I threw one in from like 170 feet. Like, it's just like, I'm still riding that kind of like tournament vibe where it's like, I just look and go.
So you're a little disappointed there isn't an event this weekend that you are
carrying that momentum.
You kind of get to carry the. Unfortunately, maybe you can help Luke with some of that momentum and just be near her and the general vibes.
Yeah,
maybe that'll rub off.
I'm just gonna focus on like swimming in Wisconsin lakes and eating cheese curds. I'm gonna go watch the women's tournament.
I say you take a day off and go up to Wisconsin Dells, biggest water park.
Yeah, I've been to Wisconsin Dells. I've gone to Devil's Lake. Yeah.
What was you and I had that conversation? What, about a year or two ago, where you had asked, where you need to check out in Wisconsin, right? And did I point you to Devil's Lake or that area?
Yeah, it's really cool. It's got this cool cliff you can climb up to. There's like a lot of rock formations. They have these like tide pools, and the lake itself is really cool, really clear water. It's fun. I love it. I love this part of the country.
Good. Glad that it's treating you well. Quick side note: Did you play Heartbreak Ridge today? Is that where you were?
No. This is like a private course.
Oh, well, was it Duster's house? He calls it Heartbreak Ridge. That's why.
So we played on Pat Blake's little course. I don't know.
Okay. Yes.
Okay, I know what you're talking about. Awesome. We won't
private
dox
course.
Yeah, we won't dox them or give out the address. So coming over to Wisconsin now, just to be clear, originally I think everyone on the planet would have assumed that Luke was going to be playing this weekend because that's maybe what we all put together. But did I see on your Instagram she's not here? She's not playing, right?
No, she flew home last night. It's so sad.
Yeah, why?
She's just like, she's like a part owner of a disc golf shop in Norway, and she's got like there was tournaments that she was going to play, like she was going to defend the Norwegian championship, the nationals, but she decided to go to Bailey, Colorado, and give match play a try and like work on that side of the the sport, the American side. I think and then obviously she was here for when I won, which she would have missed if she would have gone home. So it's sort of like a bittersweet thing. Like she stayed longer than she was going to. She missed some stuff that she wanted to play, but she got to be here with me. And I think she had, she had a good interview at the match play, and then she played well in the mountains and had some good matches. So I think the weeks here for her were really good, and she'll be back for Des Moines and Worlds, and hopefully we can get her to stay for GMC and stuff like that.
Awesome. Okay. Well, I know there's a lot of talk about it. I brought it up with the Cat today. I brought it up with Paige at the press conference. But that 626 date in which you win your first pro tour, in 2016, then you win it again. The two of the biggest wins in your career, 6 years apart on the same day, all for the pro tour, or both for the pro tour. That's just crazy coincidence, right?
Yeah, totally crazy. I didn't even know about it until Friday morning when Paige was like talking about it. But I felt like I was getting pulled along the first 2 rounds by like a force that wasn't like me. Like I felt like destiny played a hand in the weekend. It's so weird that like my conscious mind wasn't aware of that stuff, but like it all came together for this perfect little story. So it's really just bizarre.
Well, let me sign me up for picking you in 2028. So wherever you're going to be in 2028, I'm on it. I've got you down pat right now.
Let's go.
No,
hopefully before then too, but for sure that day.
Exactly, and that's what I guess I was going to say is, do you feel? I mean, you had these feels and this, almost this force, but do you feel like when you showed up to the preserve, there was anything about your game where it felt? I mean, you feel good every week when you show up, don't you? Like, or was there something different?
I mean, like it's been like I've been struggling like every week to get to like that 1050, 1060 level. Like I can come in and play like 1030 golf, but you can't win a tournament doing that anymore. And so like that extra few strokes and that extra momentum through the rounds, like you need to make some circle 2 putts. That way that next 29 footer, you can get through that one smoothly. But if you're missing a bunch of circle 2 putts and then you choke on a 28 footer, it's like there goes, 30 rating points in a better spot, in a better card, more like you just lose a lot. And you just kind of get pushed down in the field. So I've been chipping away and grinding the last few weeks, and like nothing special was happening going into the preserve, and I almost didn't play the tournament. I literally almost walked away before my tee time. I think I just had a few things that, about my game that I changed this week that helped with timing. I kind of had like an epiphany moment in the field when I was working on my swing, and I kind of found a sweet spot to use for the week, and it really helped during on that course. We were talking about it today a little bit.
Yeah, I've got to challenge you only from a lack of understanding perspective. I heard you say, I think it was Saturday night's interview after the round, that you were going to work on your footing and timing, or footing and footwork, and yet when we put together a list of the top 5 smoothest throwers and releasers in the game, like you're on that list. So how are you second guessing your own timing and footwork when it feels like
fraction of a second?
Yeah,
literally.
Like, yeah. What are you working on when you say that?
So, like one thing, so like every week you show up, you do the drive, you show up, you learn the tracks, you build your bag every week to try to match the course you're playing. And then you're also trying to add in like improvements, like how can I improve? How can I get more power? How can I get more snap? And then of course, like little timing patterns in your footwork, your hips aren't turning the full amount. Like every couple of degrees will make a difference on like your line and delivery. So sometimes you just kind of get uncalibrated, and then you think you need to change stuff. So like there's a lot of that going on. But basically the things that was different before this week and last week was I was throwing like wider lines. Like when I thought I need to throw a turnover, I would throw it very wide. And I don't know how wide it is like in degrees, but I felt I was on the edges. Like my hyzers were really wide and my turnovers were really wide. And I just kind of brought everything in a lot tighter. My lines were just a little bit tighter. It felt a little bit more closer to my body. And I was just pivoting my my trajectory a little bit with I just felt like I brought everything in this week. And so my overall package was just a little bit tighter, a little bit cleaner. I wasn't playing these wider shots, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and when I think about, the fact that you can analyze and break it down that much to that degree, I think is, first of all, a great lesson for everybody out there. And then when I think about your timing, your throw, your fluidity, I can't help but assume that you had some influence over the Mundahanos and Mason Ford. Am I crazy in thinking that when I spew
or
those
maybe
words?
Even Emerson Keith.
Yeah, when I spew those words live on the broadcast to thousands of people, am I making that up, or is there possibly some legitimate influence for them?
I think there has to be some influence. I mean, there's no other way about it. Like if I'm like the guy with the backpack on, like carrying the load for like a community, I feel like you have to look at that dude and take lessons from their game, So I think has to be some influence, like just my cadence and the way that I play. there has to be, and like the courses in our state kind of like, you're like, oh, okay, well, Brad gets to these courses pretty well. And like your game, like I can either play like Brad or I can do something different. Sometimes it's easier just to kind of do what you see. So like if I had never watched disc golf ever before, and the first pro I ever watched was like, Steve Brinster, like I'm going to try to throw discs like Steve Brinster.
Sure. With the hop and everything. So
yeah, with the hop. Yeah,
exactly. Who did you look to when it comes to form? Or who did you maybe take note of?
So when I turned on YouTube, like there was like a clip of like Ken Climo smoking a cigarette and putting it out on a tee pad and throwing a shot. And then there was like Brian Schweberger throwing a thumber, red shorts. And there was like a couple of clips of Barry Schultz. Like I didn't, we had to get Billy Crump DVDs to like watch tournaments. So I mean, I learned from my locals, but I think my inspiration was like Ken Climo, Barry Schultz, were the two biggest like swing kind of guys that I liked to look at.
I feel as if you and MacBeth also, just the way you kind of, I don't want to say creep onto the tee pad, but the way you kind of methodically take your first initial few steps. I feel like I see some similarities between you and MacBeth. I know you guys have, had conversations throughout the years, but have you guys ever discussed form?
So when I first started playing, there was a kid in my community named Ian Hovey, and he took a huge run up. Like he would have given James Conrad like a run for his money. And he was by far the best power player, the most talented player in my community. And when I met him, I didn't really have, I was really compact and short steps, but I started to try to take huge run ups. But back then, all the tee boxes were like natural. So there would be like potholes and it would be slippery. And then I started playing tournaments and like you would never get a consistent tee surface. It was always like small ones, long ones, skinny ones. And it always bothered me trying to try to be the James Conrad. I can't play my best because I only take 37-foot run-ups. So then I started to I started shorten it. And then, luckily by the time YouTube was getting a little bit more popular, I could look at other players like Nate Doss and like kind of watch how like he did his footwork. And then I went to Worlds in 2009 and I got to play with a lot of great players. I played with Manabu on my first round, real compact. I got to play with, Jesper Ludmark. I got to play with Steve Brinster. I got to play with Barry Schultz. I got to play with Ken Climo. I got to play with Nico LaCastro. So like everyone was like using the tee surface and being compact. And I think I just adapted my game from tournament play just because we started using concrete more often. So
no, I mean, that makes perfect sense. You're fortunate that you recognized early that, hey, if I have a much more compact swing and you're taking some of those other variables, like you said, the different surfaces and the length or width of those surfaces and trying to minimize your overall need for them, that makes perfect sense. Explain to us, and this, to be fair, this is a question I think I asked of maybe Missy Gannon today, but is the preserve and Kale's Place and the extracurriculars and the camping and everything that's out there, is it as cool as everybody says it is?
That's interesting. So we had an Airbnb in Minnesota. It was like about 48 miles away. So I didn't get to, and I know the Kale's property is so large, and I can't really tell where the hangout spots are. So I can't really comment on the coolness of that vibe and like how sweet it was. I know having the body of water to swim in is probably pretty sweet. But I just didn't get a taste of that vibe this week. I had to get into a car. I went to Nelson's every day and had a sandwich and then drove a small road trip back to the house. So sorry, no comment there.
No, it's just Kale's Place and then Kale's Playground, and then it's known obviously to the locals of this this sanctuary, but yet this playground that it is. And then I just feel like because of the vastness of the property and the fact that it's private, and that when our caravans of disc golfers and touring disc golfers show up, it becomes like just this mini festival of disc golfers, immediately. KJ,
I can only
KJ
imagine.
doing his sets and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I would say it's definitely an experience. If you can get a parking pass and hang out during the tournament, that'd probably be a really cool vibe in the evenings when everyone's just sitting around and talking and hanging out. I think it'd be really cool. People bring out their dogs and pets. It looks like a really relaxing, like family, like camping trip.
Now, because partially because we haven't seen you, on the top of the podium in some recent big, level events. You're clearly winning. You've won plenty. Do you have over 100 wins? Is it 123 or 136? It's a lot. But some people may not know you nearly as well because we haven't seen you, on top of the podium at the Pro Tour events as often, even though you win all the time. Yeah. So what would you want people to know about you that maybe haven't seen you or just kind of got to know you this weekend?
What do I want people to know about Bradley Williams? Well, that's my name, Bradley Williams.
Okay.
I'm from Austin, Texas. I've been playing for 16 seasons. I love to watch people work on their game. I like to watch people work on their form. I like to talk about that kind of stuff. I like to talk about strategy and shot shaping. So that'd be one of the things that think it'd be really cool to like know about me is that like I'm really interested in like learning different shots and like what you think about the course. And I think it's cool to talk about I'm not necessarily like a disc guy. Like I'm never going to be able to tell you like the pre-flight number mold or anything, but we can talk about shots and strategy and stuff like that all day. I think that'd be kind of cool. So I think that'd be kind of cool for people to know is that I'm sort of like a little bit of a nerd, a little bit of an athlete kind of mixed in.
I met you in 2011 at Worlds over in Santa Cruz. Again, 6 years ago, practically at the Vibram Open. As I tagged you in the Instagram post from the disc you and Paige had. Your name, for some of us that have been in the sport longer, comes with a little bit of baggage at times. How have you changed in the last 10 years? What about you is different from 10 years ago than now?
I think the story that I tell of like the story of disc golf that I tell of myself is changed. Like I've changed the story that I wanted to tell. The story that I used to tell was like, I don't really care what any of you think. I don't know any of you. I don't care to know any of you. I'm just gonna come out here and throw these discs to these tournaments. And then I've just changed that story for myself. Like, so it's made me just a little bit more relaxed and like just a different. So like this, I'm trying to be more professional. I want to learn. I want to be professional. I want to carry myself like a professional. I want to look like it's like a career or a job when I'm out playing. I want to take it seriously. I want to look the part. I want to carry myself in a way that's professional and try to like be a role model. But yeah, before I just didn't care at all what I looked like, how I dressed. I didn't care what anyone thought. Because that's not what I was trying. That's not what I was there for. So I've just changed like how I see disc golf and like the story that I want to tell. I've just kind of changed that as I've grown older and been involved in the sport longer.
With that, was there ever a specific turning point for you? Was there something that made you kind of flip that switch or just overall change that mentality?
I think that it was like a long road coming. Like, like I think building more friendships in disc golf made it feel more like a family thing. Like I think I was keeping my friends that I had made before I started playing disc golf. But then I played so much disc golf that it's like half my life now. Like I always felt like, oh, I just picked up the sport. Oh, I've only been in the sport for a little bit. People don't know me. I'm not really a disc golfer. But I mean, at this point, I've played almost half my life. And I've started to make more friends in the sport. And that's kind of like been the turning point, I think. It's like I've taken disc golf and kind of embraced that, like, I am a disc golfer. And this is like my family. Like, this is my people.
Yeah, I've said that for years, in that by and large, you're playing with and seeing these same people week in and week out, sometimes 30 or 40 weekends a year. You're inevitably going to be traveling the same circles together, or somebody's going to need a favor somewhere along the line, whether it's a flat tire or a place to crash because, an Airbnb fell through, whatever. And so to have that network, to have that family-like support system, I feel like is crucial. It's almost impossible to to survive while being a little bit of a loner. It feels like anyway. Does that sound right?
Yeah, that sounds accurate.
Um, so you just got done hitting on being a little bit of a nerd, loving to talk about disc golf, yet carrying yourself very professionally. A lot of those boxes you would check in terms of turning into a professional coach slash caddy or coach and caddy, whatever, anywhere in that realm of instructing. Where does that sit as a priority for you, if at all? Is instruction and lessons and clinics and any of those types of things?
I think it'd be cool that like if the sport got to the point where just the talent was just really young, like you start seeing more 13, 14, 15, 16 year olds just like just being so talented that they're just pushing everyone down and they're taking over like the top spots in the tournaments. It'd be cool to like be a be like a kind of like a mentor and coach for those players, maybe partner with a title sponsor, and like you just kind of take these boys or young men under your wing and kind of guide them as they mature. Because if the Gannon Burrs of the world are the future, the Evan, the other kid named Evan that I met recently this year is like a young guy. Like if that's the trend, you're gonna have a bunch of really young men that haven't been adults yet, and would be cool to have like an experienced like person who has also proven that they're a player, like a pro level player, with a resume of tournaments to like kind of trust and like take under their wing. I think that'd be kind of a cool situation.
I feel like if you want that job, you just have to move to Finland and like you're hired tomorrow. I mean, there are, potentially hundreds, if not thousands of the next, MacBeths, Wysocki's, Bradley Williams. They're in training, and it's going to be scary when they all are ready to go and are playing internationally.
Yeah.
You've maybe been, I don't know how much you've kept in tune, we'll say, with the FPO game, but if we're looking from a kind of a coach slash observer perspective, what have you observed? Maybe you've gotten a little closer to the FPO game recently with your significant other. What are you observing on the FPO side, and where do you help or come into things, if you're even there to help at all?
So I've noticed that a lot more ladies are starting to use like the power pocket and like their hips and to like propel the disc instead of just kind of throwing it with their upper body. I feel like they're starting to really start to exploit like the hinges and stuff and launch the discs. So I think distance and like driving speed is like kind of starting to pick up a little bit in the FBO field, which is really nice. It's going to give them some advantages out there on the course. And then I think putting's always been pretty. I mean, I feel like putting is getting really strong in the FPO division. I think the only thing now is like they just need those little buttery up shots. I think a lot of women jump putt for the up shots and they don't throw like little short shots as much. So I'd like to see that kind of come into the FPO division, like seeing them throw shots from like the 90 to like 160-foot range instead of trying to jump putt it up there. That'd be really cool. But yeah, I just want to like encourage and try to be there and support women's disc golf. I really would like to see the competition like really step up and climb, and I think it is.
Yeah, it's, I'm so excited about this week. I'll probably be seeing you within the next few days in person, but excited to see, how things unfold in Madison and the level. I mean, not only are we breaking records with 323 total women and 92 FPO players, but just to be able to see what everybody can do out there and how they can attack these courses. And part of the reason, to be fair, why I asked that question the way I did the previous one about, helping, is because in speaking with Luke, I heard her, I feel like every time she answered a question, she said, "We are working on this," or we are working on my distance. And then I started, putting it all together, thinking, okay, this is very much a tandem helping situation and assisting, coaching, whatever you want to call it. That's kind of what it felt like. So maybe my assumptions were right.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, I feel like she helps me with like the putting stroke and like finishing all the way through my putt and holding my like hand at the target. And she always reminds me to like go all in on the putt. Like either I'm gonna lay up or I'm going to go all in. I have a bad habit of like knowing where I want to putt, but like not committing all the way. So she always just reminded me to commit, go all the way. If you're going to lay up, lay up. If you're going to go with the putt, go all the way at the putt. And then I try to help her like remember to use like her body and stay loose, but still connected, and try to like. So we're definitely work on the game together. But as anyone who has ever dated a disc golfer knows, that at times it's tough to hear like criticism from like your significant other. So we definitely have our moments where we're like, don't tell me.
I don't want to
Don't tell me
hear
how
it
to
right
putt,
now. I
but-
don't want to hear it right now.
Yeah, I won't even tell the story about.
I don't want to hear it.
Yeah, a few minutes ago I was with Paul MacBeth and Hannah MacBeth, and she had some stories, and I don't think she wants me to share them here.
She was on the chat board. She's fine with it. She said
they got rowdy. Now, I think specifically about a few major moments throughout the weekend, or should I say specifically even the final round, and I think about where, I know you said you weren't really keeping track of the scores, you weren't, getting wrapped up in that, but I think about, well, does that answer my question that like the putt on 16, final round on the mound, you were in the circle or near circle's edge? I think you were in the circle. If I recall, you were a little low. Was pressure, how much pressure, like on a scale of 1 to 10, like, are you feeling the pressure of the tournament, like at that moment with a couple holes left?
Yeah, I had already missed. I'd already like even before the round started when I was in warmups. I just wasn't. I didn't feel like I had that full focus where like I see myself committing. I felt like the whole round it was like I just was like slipping away. It almost felt like a car was like running out of gas, but like kind of stuttering. It's like I had to keep pulling deep and pull myself out, and I would like throw a great shot and then like not commit on the putt, and I'd just be like, "What are we doing?" And then it was like a back and forth the whole round of just surviving and trying to like take all the mental lessons I've learned over the years. I'm like, just got to keep surviving. You got to keep fighting. Like we have to at least get a birdie every couple of holes. We have to keep some sort of pace going. And then as far as like that putt, it was like a right to left wind, slightly uphill, and I think the mistake was my back foot should have like inched up. Like I felt like I probably did hit my timing point, but I was like leaned forward. I think I should have adjusted my stance and like had my shoulders and chest like aiming up so I could guide it into the chains. Because the way that the read worked for me was I needed to put it low with the nose up, hyzer, and let the wind take it up into the chains so I wouldn't go high. And I think I was trying to do my normal stance. So then when 17 came around, I was like, I'm going to switch to a straddle. It's the same like sloped lie, and like I'm just going to change up the putt completely. So yes, there was a lot of pressure. I would say, like I felt like I really needed to execute, and I felt like it was like I allowed it to get too much pressure.
I mean, you've got Wysocki and literally hooting and hollering going on, screaming from all over, with him making big putts on the card in front of you. Obviously, you have your card mates to deal with or to be somewhat concerned with. I can't fathom that kind of pressure. And then knowing you're on a course where par's not good enough. You need birdies. And so I guess maybe that's the question buried in there is, does a course like that put extra pressure on you when you're thinking, hey, wait a minute, somebody could birdie like all 18 holes today? I mean, is the pressure's different when a course, I'm not going to say soft, but when a course has that many scoring opportunities?
Well, I think every player knows that that's the probability that or it's even a fact that people are going to shoot 10 down.
Yeah.
Someone is, for sure. I think that because of that, the best strategy is to know that you cannot think of that. Like you know it, but then you just have to really focus on your plan, because you need every bit of like you have to stay in yourself to even get to all the birdies. So it's one of those things where you know it, but then you just like you have to let it go and just stay super focused to the basics. That way you can just flow, because you have to be firing on all cylinders at least part of the round, or maybe even half the round, to accumulate enough strokes to compete. So for me, I just was like, do your best to be like in the, just be the pro that you can be, believe in your stuff.
And I apologize. I think you said it maybe in your final interview, but I don't recall. when did you know of the scores and the full scenario? At what point were you like fully aware of all the details for what was needed, whether it was on 17 or 18? When did you know everything?
So I didn't actively seek the entire tournament knowledge. I kept track of our leaderboard to see like where my card was, and then I kind of just made it a personal assessment of like, it is windy, blah blah blah. How are we playing as a card? And I just felt like we were off the pace as a card a little bit.
Okay.
I didn't know what the pace was, but I knew that I felt like we were off a little bit. We all had made some like mistakes we normally wouldn't make. And I had heard a lot of cheering, and I was hoping that the cheering was just Gannon. And I was like, okay, Gannon's probably shredding, but he's just playing for top 10. Like, so I was like, okay. But then I felt the pressure. I knew that I needed to make a putt on 16 or 17. I knew I had to get one of those holes because I knew there was going to be an eagle situation on 18 for someone. So I felt a ton of pressure to at least birdie 16 or 17. And then I didn't want to think about it until I cleared the first lake on 18 because I didn't want any extra pressure. But I also chose to be super aggressive because I decided on 18 that like any champion in any sport has to risk it at some point. You can't just play safe and win championships. You have to like kind of take a risk. So I took a big risk on 18 and forced a shot that's like out of my comfort zone, a little bit more aggressive to give myself an easier upshot. And then I checked the scores. And then I realized that Ricky had a situation to eagle, but he had bad footing, you know. And we actually saw the shot go into the water.
Oh, really? You were watching the Disc Golf Network at the time, or you saw it from where your perspective?
So we had just finished 17, and Simon and Kyle must have known the situation because Simon was like, "Oh, there's Ricky's drive." And I was like, "Well, why are you even talking about Ricky's drive if Ricky's not doing something? Like, why would you even mention it? There's always a card in front of you." And then I was like, "Wait, that's Ricky's drive. That's really far. Like Ricky threw it really far. Like, what is Ricky playing for? Is he playing for second? Like, I don't know what he's doing." But I was like, these guys are concerned about Ricky. And I'm like, I don't know why they're concerned, but I knew it was like really significant that he mentioned, "Oh, look, there's Ricky's drive." I was like, why are we caring what Ricky's doing? And then I threw my tee shot, and then I was like, tell me what Ricky's doing. And then I had a full on panic attack. I didn't know what to do. I was freaking out.
I had said it during the broadcast, but you and Rick have traveled together, right? What's the extent of your friendship or traveling relationship?
Well, we're friends for sure, but if anyone knows Ricky like better than just an acquaintance, they know that he's like super competitive all the time. Like there's not much chill with Ricky. Like it's always like you always feel like he's ready to go beat you at a game or do something. Like he's never just relaxed. Like I feel like he sits down for 5 minutes and then he's like, I need to be productive. I need to win at something.
I need to beat somebody somewhere.
I'm going to beat someone. Like, yeah, it's like, I'm going to beat you at cooking fish. I'm going to beat you at whatever,
It's a cheese curd eating contest.
Yeah. So traveling with Ricky, it's just like I feel like to thrive with Ricky, you have to be able to run the same pace as Ricky. And it's hard to keep up with that guy. A lot of energy.
Yeah. And so what an epic battle. I mean, the fact that he was where he was, the fact that he could put up that kind of fight from the chase card to try to defend his title, to even, be in the conversation with you. Like you said, you could feel like the other card mates maybe weren't keeping up or you guys weren't playing, exactly stellar, but to know that Ricky was right there. And man, he I don't want to say had a chip on his shoulder, but he had something to prove. He wanted to come back from this injury and defend that title. And even if it was in dramatic, chase card fashion.
Yeah, and I didn't get to even know or appreciate Ricky's story until Monday when people started putting out the media. Like everyone who had captured media started to put it out. And then I realized like the story. Like I knew Ricky made his return, but like when I watched him play on those clips, I was like, it makes my win even better because it's like Ricky was coming back to defend even though he's like kind of like not 100%, and he was like putting on a show, and I saw all those shots he made and I was like freaking out. Like I was freaking out watching it on a Monday after I had already won. I was like,
damn, I got mine.
I was like, he's coming.
you have to hope when you're playing and you're hearing the cheers in front of you, like you said, hoping that they're cheering for Gannon, or hoping those cheers are spread out for different players. But that wasn't the case. Every one of those cheers was a Ricky cheer because that guy was dropping them in from everywhere, and it was ridiculous.
So glad I did not know. I'm so glad I did not know it was all just one dude.
Yeah.
Like, man, that crowd up there really loves pars. Those guys keep getting pars.
Yeah. No offense to Gannon, but I don't know if the cheers are that loud for Gannon versus Ricky, man, because Ricky's a fan favorite.
Yeah, he definitely is. And again, with the title and the coming back off the injury, certainly a lot of great reasons to cheer for him. Now, of course, there was, the overall performance, but then there was hole number 5. I mean, how cool is that shot? And is it true you absolutely didn't see the basket at all? You were just throwing to the tunnel, correct?
So yeah, I couldn't see the basket. I stepped out to get my line, and I knew my main concern was to get the disc back online with the target, so I wouldn't touch anything. I was I need to be close. I don't want to have to make a circle 2 putt for par. So I mapped out the line to the target in my mind, and I was we can do this. We can get the disc online. But I couldn't see the target. And then I sort of when it went in, I sort of got, I do the low key I'm oh, that's sweet. And then after everyone kind of gives me the cool job, I turned around and I looked at everyone's face to see what kind of an impact it made. And I was I made an impact on every single one of my card mates. I was I have a chance on this card to compete. This affected these guys. They're a little shook up. And I was this is good for me. And I was I'm not going to show that I know that. I'm not going to show that I care. But I took note how everyone reacted visually on their face. And I was okay, this is good.
Well, I mean, comparing that, we see Klein, no more than 10 feet from you off the tee. Klein ends up, significantly struggling.
Takes a bogey on it.
Yeah, and then here you are throwing it in. Not only, we said it a lot on the broadcast, a 4 feels just fine, I think, on that hole. But to take the 3 and to do it in such dramatic fashion, there's just so much shock value, like you were saying. Yeah, I got you suckers. Not only am I not bogeying, I'm just going to throw one in your face.
Yeah, it made a huge impact on my card. It was it was amazing. I feel the other guys had momentum, they were getting a lot of birdies, and I was parring. I even had a bogey, and then that shot happened, and it was just, dude, it changed the whole card. It was great. I was yes, dude, I have a chance still to win.
I'd go as far as saying when I feel when something like that happens, all too often it's yeah, damn, it's his day. It's his weekend. This is that doesn't happen usually to the guy in 44th place. I mean, it just somehow those things don't happen. And it's all right, well, I guess no matter what we're going to do, it feels like it's Bradley's day.
Yeah, I wondered, I think I could see that almost that thought was what went through everyone's mind. It was okay, he was leading the tournament, now he does this when we think he's out of position. I think everyone thought that might have had that feeling. And I feel that's just a little bit of the crack in the door to kind of get in there and spread your shoulders and take up some space and be I'm here still. Hey.
I see you. Yeah. I got you. Yeah, it was incredible. I mean, I know that's what I was thinking at that time is sometimes a tournament, a situation when there's a thing that can go right or wrong and something like that goes for you, it just, it puts out
that hole is in general, I think, a momentum changer on that course because it's such a different style hole than I think a lot of the other holes on that course because it's 2 tunnel shots. It's a placement tunnel shot, and then if you hit the placement, it's another tunnel shot. And we saw all too frequently a lot of players not make that first tunnel shot. And if you don't, it puts you in a very, very difficult position, even to get par a lot of times. So having Bradley throw it in, and then you see Kyle take a 5, Simon take a 5, Conrad take a 5. That is not only, do your card mates look at you and go, wow, he just threw it in, but on top of that, they're struggling. That deflates a player.
So around the track, 3 rounds. You know, I'm sure when it was all said and done, you probably birdied at one point every single hole out there, I'd have to guess. Do you have a favorite hole? Is there a favorite section on that course? Do you reflect at all in that way when you think back to the preserve?
I think I really like the way that the first 4 holes play. Um, they're like like you would say, like it's like right between that soft and like semi-challenging region. So it's you almost kind of want to get 2 or 3 of them, but you could also see yourself like getting one of them, and it makes a difference. And you take the long walk to arguably one of the most dynamic holes on the course, 5, and then you come out of 5 with whatever happened, and then you have to get that like that straightforward par 3 that just seems like it's right there, but it's like the perfect distance for people to mess it up. And then you're just like,
that's exactly what you're like.
That's exactly what you're like. And then you're dealing with all those emotions, whether you did good or you were lacking and you needed to make up ground. And then you got to clear a lake on a par 5. And, I think the course has all of its like these little moments that like are just work so well together. I feel like I like playing that whole track, and I like the new par 4 that they added, the little dog leg versus that kind of bonus par 3.
Yep, hole 11.
I think that par 4 is pretty cool. I don't know how you guys.
It's funny because it went from being a as basically the way we talked about it is. It went from being a really soft, too easy par 4 that wasn't one.
And a lot of people would lay down rollers there and try to get up and close by.
And we saw eagles all the time on that, or occasionally. And then the next year they just simply changed it to a par 3, and everyone's like, okay, well that's too tough of a par 3 that no one's getting. Excuse me. And then this year, totally different fairway. Completely different shape to it, and made it a pretty legitimate par 4 at 650 feet. So. You're saying you certainly love that change, which seems like what the consensus was out there. People love that hole, right?
I hope so. I think it's a pretty fair hole, and I think it's a good hole. I hope people enjoy it and love it. And I know that I kind of like that par 3 because they can throw a roller, But I know people might have kind of liked that par 3, but I really like the par 4. I hope people enjoy it.
Yeah. For what it's worth, hole 4. It's the one hole he didn't get all weekend.
Oh,
you did not
why
birdie.
Didn't you get hole 4?
You did not birdie hole 4 all weekend. Missed it all 3 rounds.
I know. Hole 4 has always been like the annoying hole for me.
Yeah.
Huh. What do you got to do to get it?
It's like this perfect sprinkle of like you got to turn the disc a lot, but you can't cut it, but you still need to get that forward push. And I know I can pull that shot off. It's just that like. I don't know. It's always like a really nervy shot in tournaments. I either push it straight or overturn it. I usually don't get a perfect shot. And even if you do get a perfect shot, then you have to play like a low ceiling 330-foot, 340-foot shot. It's just that hole's always been like a tough hole just from like my own nerves. Like I try to be chill and cool and play it, but it's always like a challenge.
What would you say to someone? Yeah, exactly. What would you say to someone, and I'll use the phrase, that calls that course, because of the scores we've seen throughout the years, that calls that course soft or almost too easy, too much of a birdie fest? How would you reply to that sentiment or that comment?
I would say that like disc golf is a birdie sport. Like I feel like it was designed to be a birdie sport. And when I talk to the oldest people that I've ever met, it was always kind of like a sport that your grandma could come out and play when they first started it. Like that's just sort of the roots. I think that Kale's course could be slightly tweaked to be a little bit more placement oriented. And I wouldn't want to add OB or any like too much OB, but just I think the course is pretty cool. I think it's cool to have a course like that every now and then. Obviously, I don't like Vista very much, but Fountain Hills is very much an absolute birdie race. And because of the beautiful setting and like the watered grass and the environment, it's just people like to spectate it. I think people like to watch coverage of it. And that is an absolute birdie fest, where I think this course, you still have to throw a lot of really good shots. Placement's still important. Like, I think this course is definitely like harder. It's just that the talent pool is really good. I played with Kyle Klein a couple times, and that kid's just freaking awesome. And like, there's so many more kids like him that are just amazing. Um, I would say go out and play it yourself. Keep score, no mulligans, and send me your scorecard.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'll follow up on that. You weren't even going for it, but I did see a post by Kale saying that, you know, a lot of people are excited about the course and wanting to see it and play it. And because it's a hybrid of the 3 courses that are out there, I think he posted saying it's going to be set up for the next 2 weeks and left in this configuration. So if you were out there a month ago or you're out there in 1 month, you'll see 3 different courses. But if you go out there in the next 12 or 13 days, you'll get to go up against Bradley's score. I mean, I'm sure, you know, it'll be all the same pressures and galleries and everything else. But, you know, clearly this is, you know, one of the biggest wins of your career, even though you're in the triple digit club. But what does it mean for you as a competitor and as you know, someone that's been grinding for so long? What does it mean to you in terms of your competitive spirit and who you are as a professional golfer?
I feel like it's a culmination of like the change in my storytelling. I think last year I really wanted to take a more professional approach. I started to spend more money on like the clothes I wear, like, which is still not a huge budget, but it's way more than I ever cared to spend on clothes. I would just wear whatever people gave me pretty much. Like, I buy I buy like outfits. I try to get them team stamped. I used to never wear sponsor endorsements on any of my crap, even though I had sponsors. Like, I wear the brands. I'm like representing a company. Like, I feel like it's a culmination of like learning to be a professional and carry myself on the course I'm trying to take on new roles when I'm playing. I'm trying to interact with players in a different way. I feel like it's all of that, all those steps coming together. And I've been really close this year to finishing in the top 3 or even have a chance to winning, but I always let my last round where I get too stressed out and I didn't even shoot like a really bad round. So I've been close to playing well this year. But I'd say the biggest thing for me is like a reminder to some of the older guys that are in their 30s, mid 30s, that like, you can still, like, you don't have to give up because these kids are bombing. Like, we can still put together good golf and compete. You just gotta like play well and believe in your game. So hopefully it's a little bit of a reminder to some of my like peers, my older peers, that don't give up. You know, like, we can still play. I feel like it's a cool, like, I did it for us and the older guys. So I think it's cool.
Yeah, and one of the statistics I believe was that you, I think, are 6th in terms of time span between Elite Series wins. You know, you know, one of the longest ever being Cam Todd in what he did, winning a national tour way back when, and then showing up to the 2016 GBO and winning that. He has the longest span of how many ever years that was. And then you go through a few of the other people. Nate Doss is on that list. He's 5th longest between his span, and you were, I think, had the 6th longest span. I mean, that's got to feel damn good. Like, you clearly have the skills. Like you said, you've been close this year, but to show up and be like, hey, young kids, I see you, but I can still get the best of you.
Yeah, that's something that like I still haven't gotten to that point where like I'm looking at it that way. Like, this weekend, I was so focused on just controlling my emotions and like trying to do the best version of myself that I never even got to feel that. Like, I feel like Ricky and Kyle and some of the other guys are like checking the scores, maybe even Gannon, and they know what they kind of do, and it feels like a boxing match. Like, I feel like I wasn't even playing a game against other people. I felt like it was just me and the course, which isn't like, it was just a different experience this time around. Like, I feel like it'd be cool to kind of play that gamesmanship match where it's like, oh, I got to make this putt, and oh, he did this, and it's like a back and forth. And I'm sure that's what it looks like. But for me, it was just me, myself, in the course and trying to manage my emotions. It felt like I was just, doing my own thing this whole weekend. It felt like it was just me.
Well, and And to be fair, I think advice we often hear, and as a reminder we should all keep in mind is, yeah, it is you against the course. And at the end of the day, what others do, like, you're not controlling that outcome. I mean, if Ricky's going to get on fire and shoot 19 under and get past you, there's nothing you're not impacting what Ricky's doing. All you can do is shoot your best score against the course and see how it all shakes out.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, we're going to cut you loose. We appreciate you joining us. Looking forward to seeing you out there in Madison in the next couple of days. I was there once today. I'll be back over the next couple of days. Next event for you, is that going to be at Idlewild in a couple weeks, or what's your plan?
Yeah, Kentucky, going down to Idlewild. So this week, it's like Albert, Tam, Barsby, and I will kind of be pounding around. And I know Albert and I are going to be working on some like uphill and downhill and like woods gaps and like preparing for like the sort of topography that, because Idlewild, there's a lot of trees, but it's not hard because it's trees. It's hard because you're playing up and down slope with the trees. Like if we were just on a flat plane with tight gaps, it wouldn't really be that big of a problem. But I think because of the grade and the stuff like that, the disc height. So we're just going to prepare for that and have some fun. So it'll be a mix of training and relaxation, cheese curds, swimming. But
I love it.
There will be some focused disc golf going on. And then we're going to go out and support the women. At least I am. We're going to watch, I know Albert wants to watch some of these, his partner, Ketty. They're going to play mixed doubles at Worlds. So he kind of wants to get a vibe for her game and see how she handles pressure. And so that'll be kind of fun. Like, I'll do a little homework and just go support the women.
Yeah, that's awesome. It'll be great seeing you out there, and you enjoy it. And I was already thinking ahead, a few weeks after we see everyone in Kentucky. I've done the math. There's 0 flat holes at the toboggan as well, and you've got to hit gaps. And there's a lot of trees. They've made the course a little bit tougher. Sure. So any training you're doing for Kentucky will also be very applicable for a couple of weeks after that at the toboggan. Plus, the hills are even more inclined. So.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to put on like a 70-pound rucksack and start like climbing slopes.
Yeah, that's what I do.
Just have Terry on your back. Yeah. Terry will just hold on to you like Yoda.
Shoot,
and you run around.
I've been doing it wrong all these years. I can't get this rucksack off of me. That's the problem. Bradley, I've known you for a long time. I've seen you around. I've seen you grinding. It's truly awesome and inspirational to see what you did this weekend. And you've always known that it's in you. And so to see you burst through the way you did this last weekend, all systems firing and all cylinders firing, and then maintaining and staying within yourself to be able to close it out the way you did with all those pressures, and the spotlight being that much greater, taking home your biggest paycheck. I just want to say that it was awesome to see, truly. Yep. And I think I echo what a lot of people do within the disc golf community, is that in addition to your successes there, everybody loves Bradley. We've always loved you, but your personal growth and development over these last few years, as you alluded to, it makes it even that much more awesome. And it's really awesome to see you out there and doing what you're doing. So we appreciate it.
I really appreciate hearing that, and it's really emotional to hear you talk like that about my journey with disc golf, and it's nice to hear, and I really appreciate it.
Well, I one step further, I will say, some people that aren't either in the know or don't keep up with you as regularly, like maybe Johnny alluded to, feel like they knew the old Bradley, and I'm the first guy that's like, Bradley's awesome to be around. He's been on this journey, and it's very obvious week in and week out. And you've been, nothing but an incredibly stand-up human and sweet and kind and gentle. And I know you've had your struggles, but to see you overcome so much of that and continue to work on yourself, it's just truly been awesome. So I'm always in your corner, buddy.
I appreciate that, Terry.
All right.
Well, I'm gonna. Yeah, I guess if that's our closing thoughts. That's the nicest thing that I could hear from someone who works in the industry, and I see every week, pretty much like a family member. See you out there doing your grind, and that takes a lot to travel and do the job that you're doing. So I appreciate that, and obviously hear Johnny in the podcast, and you guys are talking about disc golf and doing entertainment. That's really cool. and it's just cool to be a part of it now and share some disc golf stories with you guys over the evening.
Well, you're always welcome. You don't have
Yes.
to win, but we almost guarantee the winner to show up. But you're welcome here anytime. And I think we certainly need to figure out when the next Bradley lessons and/or instructional video clinic, breakdown, seminar, whatever symposium takes place. Looking forward. I'm sure the entire disc golf community is looking forward to hearing that. So enjoy your cheese curds. Enjoy your victory. Looking forward to seeing you out on the course. And thanks again for joining us.
My pleasure. You guys have
Thanks
a good
a lot,
one.
Bradley.
All right. Take care. Have a good night.
Bye.
All right. Bradley Williams.
We should have asked him if he does he. I mean, his nickname was always Cactus
Sure.
because he was his personality was back in the day was a little prickly,
Yep.
as the joke was. Does he still like that?
I'm sure he doesn't.
No.
Like, if you think
I
about
mean,
it.
if obviously based on where it came from, things can change. You know,
Sure.
cactuses can flower.
Sure.
I'm just curious about. I didn't think about it until someone posted it on the board there. Regardless, I found myself, and this is not something I would have probably said 5 years or 6 years ago. I found myself rooting for Bradley this weekend, and because I know the changes that he's had. I understand the person he's become, and when you're going up against the likes of the lovable Simon Lizotte, the huge story in Ricky Wysocki, the young up-and-comer Bradley Williams, Kyle Klein. And
Naturally, yeah. There's a lot of people to root for that seem easy.
It's very easy to root for. So the fact that I found myself rooting for Bradley going into that round says a lot, I think, about how far he's come. So I'm extremely excited. I'm happy for him, and I can't wait to see, further successes from him.
Yeah, we'll see if this propels him. And I mean, that's, I know maybe somebody had asked us to possibly ask him that. And I just think, of course, he can use it as fuel and momentum. Is this the first? Is this going to be the first of a few breakout performances where he then really goes out and we're seeing him in the top 5 for the next few months? I mean, think about sometimes that flow that they get into, and you think
like
of
a Luke Humphreys,
how you opened this year,
Simon Lizotte,
and then rode it, and Simon kind of in recent time, riding some of that, Double G riding some of that in recent weeks and whatnot.
I have to wonder if it if it hurts him to not have an event this weekend, to not be in that, to keep that flow a little bit longer and a little bit more off time, if that is going to slow him down at all. I mean,
yeah,
it's all internal for him.
I know,
clearly.
and we always think about, like, you go out to league and you birdie the last 4 holes at league, and you're like, wait, no, I'm just getting warmed up. Now let's start playing. That kind of mentality, and how it could carry over from week to week, and we'll see. How things. You go to Idlewild, which almost couldn't be any more of a stark contrast to what you just saw, in Idlewild, hitting these very tight lines and only really a couple of wide open holes, as opposed to what we just saw at the Preserve. But like he just said, I mean, he's going to go on over to some hills and try and hit gaps. I don't know who else practices that. So he's definitely in the right frame of mind.
And somebody nailed it on our board. High disc golf IQ.
Yeah.
Because thinking about, just when we talked to him about the putt on 16, him saying something like, well, I feel like I maybe should have brought my foot in a little bit more to square up my shoulders to make sure, like, that's nothing I don't think I've ever thought about.
No. You're like, cool, I didn't trip when I missed my putt.
When I walked up to the putt. No, but I mean, when I walk up to an uphill putt, I think, okay, maybe internally I'm thinking, all right, line up your shoulders, point at the basket, and putt.
And then whiff.
Yeah, and whiff, or hit, more than likely, hit basket, get up and roll down the hill back at me, But and then get really frustrated and just toss one up there. But the fact that all those things are going through his head really goes to show you the mind of Bradley Williams. And it's been long known that he is kind of I don't want to say a form guru, but definitely, as he said, a form nerd. It is amazing, because I've talked to a lot of other pros. Not a lot of them talk like that.
No.
I think a lot of them internalize it. It's more of a feeling. he knows how to
Express it
and make it external. So, you couldn't ask for someone better than Bradley.
Okay, well, congratulations, of course, to him. And then with that, let's quickly recap the other top finishers and competitors over at the Preserve Championship. Ricky Wysocki, of course, coming in second.
I'm still hearing cheers.
Yeah, exactly.
They're in my backyard.
Well, Ari is only about a few miles from us right now, so that's why.
Okay, I do. It was just Ari. You should have brought her over for the podcast, Terry.
I gave her a few options and ideas, and she didn't take me up on any of them.
I don't think any of them probably were come over for the podcast.
More on that later. Kyle Klein, Simon Lizotte tying for third. Just 3 back of Bradley as they were at 29 under par. James Conrad, a little bit of distance with him, back at 26 under. Adam Hammis with an insanely scorching round of 13 under. Almost as good was Gannon Burr.
We almost sent Mo was pulling his hair out, stressing about sending a camera over to him towards about halfway through the round because we saw that Hammis was on a heater and Gannon Burr was on a heater, and we were thinking, do you pull a camera from our lead card, which had 4 with our slow-mo cam, and send one there? Because that could be, at the time we were thinking that could be course record. He's not going to win. We all knew that. But if he would have gotten up into the podium spots, depending on what anyone else was doing, ultimately we decided against it, clearly, because we were really focused on the mission at hand. I think we made the right decision, but those guys were just on fire.
Yeah, it was pretty cool to see, and it's almost got to be a little deflating at the same time in that you can have these incredible rounds, but because of so many birdies being available on that course, a 12 or a 13 in this case moved them up, 20 and 12 spots, but it couldn't put them in contention.
It's a great round. It's not a phenomenal round, and it's better than good because a good round out there is 8 to 10. Like that's what, as Bradley said, that's what every pro is probably shooting for. 8 to 10 strokes, under par. If you get above that, it's bonus because Bradley won with.
I think they're expecting
32.
I think they're expecting 10. I think they feel like they need to get 10 under on that course. Yeah.
If you want to win, yes, you need to hit 10 under consistently every round because Ricky took second and averaged 10 under. I mean, he shot 11 that final round, but he shot 30 under par for 3 rounds. So that if you want to win, you have to hit double digits each round practically, or, have a round like a 13 or a 14, and then you can maybe get away with an 8. But everybody knows what you go into with that course. There's, and I know you're joking, the Minnesotans get a little touchy when you start using the word soft.
I know, and that's why I was.
But it's not a soft course because I feel like a soft course is more along the lines of the pars are soft. Like, there's a few par 4s in there that could be par 3s. Like that to me feels like a soft score. This isn't soft. This is just deuce or die. And to me, I like that style of course once in a while. I think it's good to have that because as we know, it's a different type of pressure. It's not that, on a par 4 where you can make a mistake. Oh, I made a mistake. I threw it off to the right. I'll get a par on this one. And you know what? 40 to 50% of the other people are going to get par on this one. That's not how it works here. If you don't birdie some of these holes, you're losing a stroke to 70% of the competitors.
Yeah. I mean,
so it is a different type of pressure walking up to a lot of these holes than other courses. And I do like that style of golf once in a while. And I think having 1 or 2 events like this on the Pro Tour every season is great. I wouldn't want an entire season of this, just like I wouldn't want an entire season of LVC or an entire season of, DDO. I love the variety that we have in our tour.
I'm scrolling down and I'm thinking about even just starting off on hole number 1, how literally the top 14 people in the division or that finished, the top 14 finishers all birdied hole 1. Garrett had the bogey. We saw that. And then, 5 out of the next 6 birdied hole 1. So something like 20 out of like 22 people birdied hole 1. it's just one of those holes, as you were just saying, that's kind of a must get. There's other holes out there, but hole 1 just jumps right off the page as like, yep, you really should be starting with a birdie. Almost everybody is. You got to start with that birdie. So, all right. So did I round out the top couple? I think I got sidetracked. Gannon Burr, Albert Tom, Paul MacBeth, and Ezra Aderhold round out your top 10. And I guess a question that could be posed before we move into the FPO. You look at MacBeth, who had to move up 4 spots to get into the top 10, and a lot of these other names we're seeing more and more frequently. But after the first round, there wasn't a big conversation about MacBeth, and one would pose the question,
which is funny because he shot. I feel like it was maybe after the second round when he didn't make up for the first round, because the first round he shot an 8 under. And again, as we said, you need to hit 10. 8, you're only a little off the pace. You can come back from an 8 under, as we said, and shoot a 12, and you're right there in it with everybody. But he didn't.
Okay,
he came back with a 7, and at that point he's done.
Then you're out of it. So
you're out of it unless you have that practically perfect round.
So coming back, finishing in the top 10, finishing out strong. When you look at that,
he didn't even finish that strong. He shot another 8. Same thing he did first round. Like,
moving up.
He shot the average. Like, this is the pro average. 8, 8, and 8. That's what like our top pros should be shooting out there.
So I guess the question becomes, with, I'll say, crawling back into the top 10 by shooting that.
Sure.
What makes of the first half of his season? What's the takeaway there? Because we haven't seen the dominance.
Who are we comparing it to? Are we comparing it to the average pro, the average top pro, I mean? Or are we comparing it to our idealized version of Paul MacBeth?
That's a good question.
Because if you're comparing it to the idealized version of Paul MacBeth, I still think of 2015, 2016, this is a disappointment.
For him
from that era.
Or if you're holding him to that standard.
If you're holding him to that standard. But, I mean, Paul's still taking top 10 in a tougher field. He might not quite be as sharp as he has been in the past. He's got other things going on. He said, he was sick and he only got 1 practice round in. He was in Montenegro putting in work, all this other stuff. I feel like these, and maybe I'll ask him this weekend, tomorrow. It kind of feels like these events maybe don't mean as much to him as they have in the past. That he's focused a lot on his foundation. He focuses a lot on the big events, the majors. Mm-hmm. He took second at our first major. Mm-hmm. It wouldn't shock me to see him take top 3 at our next major, which would be Worlds, right? European Open, then Worlds. Yeah. So I feel like he hasn't dedicated the time that some of these other pros have to these courses. I got to face this guy tomorrow. He's skating by on his talent. He can walk up to any hole and park it or put it in the perfect spot. But if you're just a little bit rusty, if you haven't worked, if you only played the course once and not 3 times, throwing multiple shots, maybe you don't quite have that line dialed in. And I say that with love. I think you give Paul MacBeth an extra 2 to 3 days on this course, I think he's a top 3 competitor, no doubt. I just think he's got other things going on, and he can get by better than those other guys because of his talent. And I mean, we'll see what happens we'll see what happens when it comes up to the majors. How soon is he going to be in Europe? How many rounds is he going to get on that course? When he goes to Worlds this year at DDO, is he going to get there a week early in practice? Those are the events that he gears up for, and which shows that those are the events he plays well for. I mean, I can't fault him. The dude's changing the game for off the course these days, mm-hmm. and a little bit less on the course. But he still has that competitive drive. He doesn't want, you see him get frustrated when he's shooting quote unquote average golf at 8 under par.
Yeah, and part of that I think about.
But cool. I can go out right now to Valley View here, shoot mediocre, shoot like a 6 down and be frustrated because I haven't practiced. You know, when you and I were doing leagues, I was regularly 10, 11, 12 under because it's a pitch and putt course. And I would get frustrated then. I go out now and shoot a 6 under. I'm probably frustrated at myself. But do I deserve to be? I haven't played. I barely touch. I've been doing more putting in my backyard the last 3 days than I have in years. So it really is a perspective deal. Like, how upset can you get when you're not 100% focused on your craft? I don't know.
Yeah, I think, you know, as we've said, it's largely based on when you're comparing him specifically to what he's done in the past and what we know he's capable of. And others could say, well, this year's not that impressive, or it doesn't feel like you're dominant or as
got
good.
a Waco win. He's got second place at our first major. And he's taken top 10 at every other event practically. It's a good season. It's not great.
Exactly. And again, I think that's always where it comes back to. Most players would take his season and say, like, hey, you can go out and try this on your own, or we could give you what he's done this season. And there's plenty of players that say, oh yeah, you know, I'll take that. I don't need to see the flop. I'll just take that, you know, what you're giving me, what you're offering me as
I just scrolled down, you know, Gavin Rathbun, Aaron Gossage, Connor O'Reilly. You give any one of those 3 Paul MacBeth season, they are on cloud 9. Paul, he's probably like, you know, I can do better. I know I can. So,
all right. Well,
if he attacks me tomorrow, I'll.
I think he should whoop you, is what I think. That was your top 10, as I just said. Albert, Paul, and Ezra rounded it all out. Congratulations to all our top 10 finishers. Also, getting into that conversation just outside of that was Kelvin Heimberg. We're keeping an eye on him. And then, really, I think one of the conversations for sure for the weekend, because of his recent success, seeing Double G struggle largely just in that final round. You know, of course, he was on the lead card going into it, but seeing him struggle to open up his round, he turned it around on the back 9, got things going, but he ultimately dipped 10 places into that 15th, and just not on point from what we saw from the previous few weeks out of Double G.
It felt like a good weekend for Double G, with a misstep.
Yeah.
Everybody's going to have an off day. Double G's was on Sunday, and you want it to be Monday.
Yeah.
So.
All right, we're going to move over to the FPO action. I'm going to quickly read through our results there. We saw Paige Pierce, of course, take it down ultimately by 5 strokes over Missy Gannon. Tying Missy Gannon for second place was Ella Hansen. And then right behind that pair by single stick, we saw Katrina Allen, who finished in with a 13 under.
Katrina had a great final round.
She certainly did. She had the 1 bogey, but 7 birdies out there. You know, that, essentially almost doubled her score. She came into the round at 7 under over the first 2 days, and then finishes strong on the final round with her 6 under. Showing yet again that grit, that determination. And we've seen this a number of times out of Kat this year, where it feels like she's just not there, or one of her early rounds isn't there, but then she still comes in and finishes really strong. I think back to the Players' Cup very specifically. She had clawed herself up like 20 or 30 spots or whatever it was in the final round. It was a significant jump, just knowing like, hey, I've still got fight in me. I haven't played the way I want to. I maybe am out of contention to win it. However, I'm still going to go put out a really solid round. So she finishes in 4th. Evelina Salonen finishes in 5th. Holland Hanley, who we got to see more than usual this weekend, which is great. She finished in 6th. Tying for 7th, 3-way, was Maria Oliva, Jennifer Allen, and JK, Juliana Korver. Juliana had 1 birdie and 1 bogey during the final round. 16 pars out there, and that led her to her tie for 7th place. Congratulations.
And I'll say it was a poor putting round for her, that final round. She could have easily been probably 4 or 5 down, but she missed a lot of circle 1 putts. We saw it on camera. It seemed like every time we were going to her, she was lacing drives and just struggling on the putting green still. Mm-hmm. So it's just things she's aware of. She's a veteran. She understands, and things I'm sure she's working on we'll get to see her this weekend probably.
Yes, she's out in Madison. I saw her today, actually.
Oh, nice.
She's already out there. And one thing that is very cool that we're seeing around, again, being very biased and homers for our state and our area, a lot of posts made in the last day with a lot of our players going out and playing a weekly league last night, or playing a round and running into Hannah and Paul, or JK and Jim Oates played around yesterday. Lots of players. I continued to see them pour throughout my Facebook, and it's always awesome. There's a special feel. We don't have a ton of this high-level superstar performance and players come to Wisconsin that often. So, of course, when it's in our backyard, or the town over from us, for instance, there's a lot of people that are taking in, which is awesome to experience and see. And Token Creek, Elver, excited for both of those this weekend. So that's your FPO action. As I just mentioned, those are your top 10 finishers there. And if you're looking for a little more insight, today we had the press conference that I quickly touched on, but the press conference that's out there and is available. It gives you a whole extra day in theory if there's anything you wanted to consume from it. I had a lot of fun talking to all of the competitors today, and also our Hall of Famer, PDGA number 83, Tita Ugalde, who I haven't had. I openly admitted to her right as she walked up. I said, I'm embarrassed by this, but I don't know you as well as I should. And we had a very brief talk 2 seconds before she then got in front of me, and then we had an interview.
That's the one interview I ended up stepping away from and missing.
Yeah, she's just such a kind, amazing soul. Just retired from education after 42 years. And I said, and you didn't kill a kid? Like, that alone I think is impressive, because, man, I've only been around a few of them that are my kids' friends, and I'm surprised I haven't yet. So 42 years in education. She had stories about the 70s. She has conversations and stories about ultimate and freestyling and double disc court and self-caught flight, and just truly a Frisbee fanatic. Knows and played with Stork and knows Stork, and of course a lot of the newer, the original PDGA members all knew each other very much so. Of course, knew Steady Ed, and PDGA number 83. That's an 8-3. So
it's only like 14,000 better than me,
and like 200 and some thousand lower than where we're at right now. So
yeah.
Truly just an amazing soul, and a pioneer and trailblazer all in those days. And I know sometimes I throw around birthdays. Today, we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be here. You wouldn't be here listening to us yammer on and on if it weren't for the man himself, Steady Ed Hedrick, who I believe would have been celebrating his 98th birthday today. But Steady Ed Hedrick, the godfather of all disc golf, would have been, I think, 98 today. So thanks, Steady. I mean, I don't know if we can say anything better than that. Thanks for thanks for getting us all together, even though you had no idea at the time that it would turn into what it has.
I want to talk real quick about friend of the show, Scott Stokely, reached out to us and asked if we could briefly talk about something he's putting together. It's a 6-month online class that says become a complete disc golfer. A complete one, Terry.
I'm
like us.
I'm half the man you ought to be.
The
Pearl Jam, half the man.
What?
Half the man. Oh, Better Man.
That's Better Man. Stone Temple Pilots, half the
There
man I used to be.
I'm twice the man.
You and I both.
Was.
You and I both. You and I both. Anyway, it's an online class that kicks off in early July, and you get to take classes with Scott. I think there's some live classes, there's some recorded stuff. There's discounts for people with special needs. Ultimately, it's a lot of what he has been teaching. It's probably going to fill up. So if you're interested, obviously you can go out to scottstokely.net and take a look at that. But I will say that Scott has been doing teaching around the country for the last few years. I've heard nothing but great things. So if you're interested in becoming a better disc golfer, I don't think this would hurt. If you want to be a complete disc golfer, according to what this says. Me personally, I'm fine with being a half disc golfer.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need that forehand half. I'll stick with backhand. and poorly, by the way. So, yes, but honestly, it's probably worth. I don't know what the cost is. I'm not on it right now, but yeah, like I said, it's a 6-month class, so it goes from July till the end of the year. So it's a lot of content. It's a lot of that stuff. Go sign up if you want to be a better disc golfer. It definitely can't hurt.
Yeah, so I was just going to say, either Scott's one of the most successful, best disc golf teachers of all time, or he just deletes reviews better than anybody else. One of the two.
That could
I
be.
think it's the former, though. I think he's truly one of the best ever. And yeah, I would second that. Go out. Excited to see. I saw Scott briefly tonight. He's going to be part of hanging out over there at the Funky Farm. So certainly great to share some time with him. And we've had him on now a few times. We'll probably have him on some more. But certainly go out and I was going to say support Scott, but really you're just trying to get better at disc golf.
Yeah.
And if you happen to support Scott at that point, great, but you're going to become a better disc golfer.
Do it for you, not for him.
Yeah.
Do it for you.
Yeah, get selfish.
We all know you need to be a better disc golfer, whoever you are.
All right, let's jump over quick.
Am
Worlds Champions, which I've only screwed up the city in Indiana about 6 times. The FA1 winners name about 9 times. So combined, I've got at least 15 screw-ups here, but I'm going to go for it one more time. In Evansville, Indiana, which consisted of a few other nearby towns and whatnot where they played, but in Evansville, Indiana, this weekend, on the FA side, we had the 15-year-old Cadence Burge, who took it down. So congratulations to her. That was my first try. I think I nailed it.
How many times did you call her Candace?
Like at least 2 or 3 during the live broadcast. And then when I didn't screw up her first name, I then had no clue how to pronounce her last name, which coincidentally, I reached out to like 4 people and said, hey, I want to announce her correctly. Can you tell me how to say her name? And I think I got 4 different answers. So that didn't help at the time.
So Cadence
Burge. Congratulations. 15. Sponsored by Discmania already was.
Beat out the Linz twins.
And you just made it super competitive all week, which was really awesome to see. So congratulations to you, Cadence. Awesome to see. And I didn't double check. Is she playing this weekend or not? We need to look that up.
I did not look.
I know the Linz twins for sure are here because I've already seen their posts being in Wisconsin.
Which division are they playing?
I believe it's open.
Is it? Okay. I honestly haven't looked.
And then on the MA1 side, coming out of Massachusetts, Paul Kranz. So many of you already know Paul and Ilkin had gone into a playoff at the USWDGC a few weeks ago. So I had no surprise whatsoever when I saw the 2 of them pushing and contending and a few others kind of all in the mix at Am Worlds and vying for that title. And when it was all said and done, Paul got, we'll call it his revenge for now at least. Paul also, like Ilkin from a few weeks earlier, 17 years old. And he took it down. So I think he came into this event rated 1,001. A couple weeks prior, he was rated like 990 or 991 when he was at the USAMs. But when it was all said and done, Paul is your champion. Congratulations, of course, to Paul.
None of the women that competed at Am Worlds in the top 3 are playing
open
here.
You know how to spell? Is that's not the issue? Okay,
it's definitely not Burge, Burge, and Linz is just LIND.
LYNDS.
LYND. Oh, maybe that's it. DS. Okay, so yes, so the Linz are playing in open. My mistake. I spelt their last name incorrectly. So when I did a search, thank you for correcting me on that, Terry.
I can correct you all day long. Don't you worry. It's what I do best. In fact,
it's why I keep you around.
Yes. So congratulations to, of course, the winners. I always say congratulations to all your top performers and just the people that took the time, the money, the resources, the travel, the energy, often the parents, if they're young enough, for the competitors. But congratulations to everyone that got to go experience the World Championships. As a guy who played in 20 consecutive world championships myself. So many of my fondest memories in disc golf continue to be from the world championships. And it's not from winning it, that's for sure, but from just being part of it. It's an experience like none other. So congratulations to all of them.
And it's not the same anymore. Like it's not the same as it's a different experience. The world championships these days. And it kind of leads me into like my next talking point about this upcoming weekend with the USWDGC. There's talks about, I think you brought it up a few times in the conference, about the courses. Mm-hmm. I know last year there were some issues with the courses, as far as the quality of the courses, the exclusivity, I would say, of the courses. There were a lot of people that had issues with, spectators and just casual people walking around courses, either during practice rounds or even during the event. And then, of course, the distance of the courses. And I'll say for this event, I don't believe you're going to see the issue with the practicing or the casuals on these courses, because they're relatively off the beaten path for the events. They're going to be closed to disc golfers, but on top of that, these aren't necessarily like very popular walking paths or things like that.
Yeah, you're not going to get a random person just kind of, as I described to somebody, you're not going to get somebody pushing a stroller through these courses.
No. I could see Elver, you could see somebody kind of walking through the woods maybe, but again, that could or couldn't. I doubt it'll happen, but I could envision something like that. But you talked about like the length of these courses, and these are shorter courses than what the women are used to playing. They're only, 6,500 and 7,000 feet or whatever that is. And there's discussions about whether this challenges the women or what type of golf. I kind of put this in the type of golf that I put the Preserve in. This is going to be more of, they're different styles, but it's that same mentality. It's going to be a birdie or die mentality. Have we moved past the point where USWDGC should be a combined event?
Yeah, and I think that was even more so a sentiment last year.
And I kind of want to say about that, people have to realize that these were bid on years ago.
Yeah.
And not only were they bid on years ago, they were pushed back a year because of COVID. Like nothing happened. So this event was probably bid out at least 4 years ago.
Probably somewhere in that time.
3 to 4 years ago.
For sure.
So before the disc golf boom, before all that stuff, it was a different environment back then. So I give a lot of leniency to these events for the next year, maybe one more year from now, as far as how they feel in the courses. But go ahead.
I think that, and that was a talking point for me today with some of our competitors. I think that recognizing that our women have gotten accustomed to 7,000, 8,000, 9,000 foot courses. I believe the Preserve was something like 9,600 feet this last weekend, which is on the longer side. So, maybe that's just a little bit of an outlier or an upper limit. But that's a fair question, is when people are bidding out to host this event, is it going to be sustainable to have all the divisions there? Now, Madison's blessed in the sense that there are 5 or so courses, 6 or even 7, depending on how far you want to travel. There's at least 5 courses that can be part of competitive play. So even if you have or need a course that plays a little bit easier or plays relatively short for some of the least rated players, they have that available. And they don't have to share the exact same course. We don't have to put the novice women on the same course as FPO in this case, which is great. However, do we need the FPO courses to be even tougher by leaps and bounds? I guess that's ultimately the question. And if so, does it stay on the same week? Because I think that's all part of the bid. That's all part of the process. Do you have kind of an amateur United States Women Disc Golf Championships and then a professional United States? And then if we're going to really start splitting some of those hairs, we're making those distinctions is a better way to put it, rather than pro and am, should we literally have all divisions as one weekend, maybe at the same place or not, but then just FPO, nothing but FPO on a separate week for a 4-day major? I think that's a question that can be asked now.
Well, we've seen for we'll just say for amateur men, they have the USADGC over in Michigan, right?
Yeah, it's technically open to FPO. I'm sorry, not
Correct.
FPO,
Anyone,
FA1. But yeah. I get your
but
point.
it's basically one division, right?
It is one division, yes.
Okay, so let's just consider that. As we know, MPO is open to women too, but we consider it a men's division. Should the women have something like that? Should our women players have a dedicated event? Let's just call it the USWDGC. Let's say that is the name we go with. That is the event that we tear away, and that says only FPO, or only AM women play that. Or does USWDGC become only FPO? Do we separate? I mean, because we have worlds where you've got both fields. You've got juniors, which is separate now. You've got masters, which is separate now. Have we outgrown the US, and we probably talked about this last year even, the USWDGC being that combined, feel good, let's get all the women together in one event. What is the purpose of USWDGC? And if the purpose is to get everyone together, should it be a major? Or should it just be a women's global style event where it's more of a gathering, a competitive gathering? I just have a hard time believing that if you do that, you're going to have a lot of FPO just not show up because it's not going to mean as much. This is a major now. I don't know the right answer because we don't have something like this for the men's side. You don't have an event that's cool. Let's get the MPO and the MA1 and MP40 and we don't have that. It doesn't exist. So do we need it for women anymore? I think it served a purpose. I just wonder if it's outlived its purpose now in the bigger scheme of disc golf that we are at.
Do you feel like the Throw Pink Championships instead serves that purpose?
I think that the way things are moving, it's only a matter of time before Throw Pink becomes a major. And if that's the case, you have the Throw Pink, the equivalent of the USDGC. Mm-hmm. We have Worlds, which for both of them, for both divisions. You've got European Open for both divisions, and you've got Masters Cup for both divisions.
Players Cup.
Players Cup, sorry. Cup. Champions Cup, whatever. Where does USWDGC fit into that? Do the women get a fifth major? Does it matter? I don't know if it does or not. Like, do we care that if the women have 5 majors and the men only have 4? Do we want to keep it consistent between divisions? Or maybe I'm completely wrong and Throw Pink never becomes a major. It just always becomes the we'll call it the X major because it's not quite a major, but everyone kind of treats it that way. It's where the best of the best FPO show up on the same weekend that the best of the best MPO are playing the same course. It feels awkward. Like, it feels awkward that it's just an A tier or it's just whatever tier it is. Mm-hmm. It just really feels like it's moving towards that perspective that it's a major. And I know it's not this year. I don't think it is technically next year because I believe the majors were announced for next year. You have to feel at some point that they're going to maybe make that push. It feels natural. They're already there. What's the difference between literally throwing the letter M in front of it instead of A at this point? Would it change anything?
Yeah, probably some tiny details, but I'll abstain from
sure
some of those thoughts. They're all fair questions because yes, the main point of the conversation is have we, if we're going to cater to a major in which our best women in the world are at it, they need to be challenged by the best, most difficult courses for them and exclusively for that division. And that might mean either a separate event or different host or different format or whatever. So yeah, there's definitely a conversation to be had there. I totally agree.
And I know this is semantics, but to me, Sue, I believe, said that the USWDGC should be AM only. I have a weird feeling in my belly. Like, if you're going to do USWDGC, it should be on the same weekend as USDGC, and it should be for the FPO. That Throw Pink, I would love to see that name taken and put towards whatever this, FPO version would be, only for consistency's sake.
Yeah.
It just feels like that would be the case. And I know, for us who have been in the sport for a while, it's like, oh, whatever, Throw Pink and USW. Consistency always, I think, matters. And if you're going to have an event on the same weekend as USDGC, making it USWDGC only makes sense.
Yeah,
so
logistically sounds.
But I don't know the business perspective behind Throw Pink versus USW. There's the whole business thing behind it. There's a lot of moving parts.
Some politics. There's some branding. There's some naming. There's some rights. There's some money. There's some influence. Yeah.
Something I didn't know. Sarah Nichols says the LPGA does have 5 majors and the PGA only has 4. That's interesting. I honestly had no clue about that. So, do we care then? I mean, do we have to be like golf? No. Could we be whatever? That is interesting though. I never knew that.
All right. I don't know if we. A quick side note, only because it was pointed out to me that the most recent, which maybe you haven't gotten, the most recent issue of Disc Golfer magazine.
It's probably in my mailbox right now.
Has a nice little write-up on Wisconsin, which obviously is well-timed in the fact that we're here for the U.S. Women's taking place this week, and it has a really nice write-up about the varying places in Wisconsin. It was pretty cool to see. So a little spotlight on Wisconsin for this week for that reason.
We saw a few interviews with PDGA representatives this weekend, usually right after the second card teed off. A lot of them talking about board of directors. There are 13 candidates for the board of directors. If you subscribe to the PDGA, or I think you can find it on the PDGA page, there's podcasts, I think, interviewing them.
Yeah.
That you can go and listen to and get the candidates' perspective and listen to them talk and explain why they want to be a PDGA director. So please go out and do that. Be an informed voter.
Yeah, and I'll follow that up and say one of the candidates. Well, keep quiet. One of the candidates did reach out to me and say, "Hey,
are you in the pocket of a big candidate?"
I would like to be. If you would like me to bribe me. No, a candidate did reach out to me and had said, "Hey, I know in the past that sometimes you've had, kind of interviews and whatnot with various candidates, and if there's a spot on Smashbox, blah blah blah." First of all, I don't think I replied, which I should still do, so I apologize on that behalf. But I was very much under the impression that there was going to be a specific concerted effort to host something of that nature, and that's why I felt like if they're going to do it, I'd love for it to be in that one, I'll say, kind of consistent theme.
Mm-hmm.
And because the one thing I did worry about, and unless there was a whole nother agenda, or way to go about it, I was worried about, well, if we just have one on and not like the other 5 or 10 or 20 or whatever.
Yeah.
So to me, when I had heard there was some type of effort where there was going to be kind of a uniform approach to it, I feel like that makes the most sense. Now, if there were just three that were doing it, and one night we could here on Smashbox.
Oh, we'd line them up like the January 6th committee.
Yeah, we would just have the three of them.
It would be us,
and that would be a totally different story.
Them.
But with the massive undertaking that it would have been, and then all of a sudden somebody can't make it, and then it looks like favoritism. It's easier to steer clear of that, assuming that all of them are going to have this uniform approach in which they're going to be able to get their voices heard. So I just wanted to make that clear. So listen to whatever is put out and is available so that you can be, as Johnny said, an informed voter. That would be our recommendation for sure. All right. I don't know if I fully understand where Sue says we don't even see the pros at the USWDGC. We are all at different courses. You're right. You won't necessarily, depending on the schedule, which I haven't looked at in full depth, but I got to assume some people are going to be playing Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday mornings, and therefore with our final FPO card teeing off at 3 p.m., the courses are all within 15 or 20 minutes of each other. So if you really felt it that burning desire, which I would encourage anyone that does, if you got done with your round, you could probably go see some or all of our final lead card every single day as well. Now, of course, if you're teeing at 2:00 at a different course on the other side of town and they're teeing at 3:00, I get it. You're not necessarily going to see them play golf, in person.
Skip your last round.
But yeah, and it's tough because there's no way you're going to accommodate. You always have to wonder, well, is that what the players are here for? Does the person that's leading, I'm just going to make up a division, FA 50, does she really care to go out and watch the FPO lead card, or does she want to rest and get ready so she can take down the event that week? It's kind of tough to juggle every single person's agenda and what they're trying to get out of the event. The one thing that I believe there was a social activity of sorts that was available last night to some of the competitors and some of the players. I guess I shouldn't say anything else until I officially pull up a caddy guide, but I feel like there's been a missed opportunity on some social activities would be the one thing that has been relayed to me. And if so, that's unfortunate. Because this does feel like it should very much be a social event for as many people that want to partake in it.
It's kind of nice seeing an event like this with the number of women there. Like just being able to say that number, because if we do split it apart, you're not going to get that number probably. You're not going to see an event that has 342 women at it. You're taking out 90 women from FPO. Now, you could maybe expand the other divisions. Maybe they fill up. We'll get there eventually, but it is really nice having that number to say, hey, look at the size of our competitive field for women's disc golf.
Yeah, and as soon as I was just uttering those words, I seem to be correcting myself. I just saw here with one of the posts for the player. Well, there is a party. Thanks to Ian's Pizza, which is, by the way, amazing.
Good pizza.
For sponsoring refreshments for our Saturday night players party at Elver. Make sure to stop by their Francis Street location, But yeah, so it looks like there is a Saturday night players party at Elver. That's something I didn't know of a few days ago, so I am glad to see that was just posted. And then also, since we're already here and talking about it, Wednesday, June 29th, depending when you're listening to this might not be helpful. There is a 4 to 7 o'clock check-in, players packs and badges for competitors, caddies, and support people. For all competitors, there's going to be a cash bar and free appetizers. That's 4 to 7 on Wednesday night. A mandatory players meeting then follows at 7 p.m., and that's at the Mitby Theater at 3550 Anderson Street in Madison, Wisconsin. Plenty of free parking directly across the street. Tee times will be posted during the player meeting. The earliest tee time slot is 9 a.m. So just spreading that along for anyone that's actively going to be part of the experience. Bradley Williams, I'm sure, is still listening at the bar, and he's like, what time is that first tee time? I'm going to be there. Bradley, you're welcome. 9 a.m. will be the first.
On a selfish note, I know sometimes they listen. I'm going to talk to any of the guys on the Pro Tour right now. Seth, Jeff, get that TD report in for the preserve. You're running out of time. I got people complaining about skip-based stuff.
Oh, and quickly give the reason for the call out there. What are you getting at? And how is it relative?
Because the Skip Ace, our fantasy disc golf thing, goes according to PDGA results. And right now, we have Jessica Weiss, who didn't play. They do not have her listed as a DNF. It's like she's still waiting to tee on hole 1. So unless you list,
screws up.
So that screws everything up because some players will automatically get subbed out if a player doesn't show or DNFs. And because she's not marked as a DNF, which she will be when the TD report is finalized, it's messing people up right now. And I thought there was a time that they had to have a report in. Is it 48 or something like that hours?
Yeah, from I don't know what it is, from a Pro Tour event. That's an Elite Series event. I feel like that roughly needs to be submitted ASAP.
And I only joke because Jeff Spring is listed as the tournament director for that. So Jeff, get on the job, or have Seth do it. I don't know. I'm not sure who's taking care of it these days.
I'm pretty sure Jeff was going to have a matchup with Julian Marquez tonight.
Oh no,
in the octagon, and I don't think that's going to go well for Jeff.
I said that my goal is to take Julian down. Now I'm going to have to do it sneakily. I'm thinking going for his knees when he's not looking.
Still probably wouldn't work.
I'd probably hurt myself.
Yeah, unless you did it with a car.
I don't want to dent my car. Yeah. So, because the last year when we saw Julian, he was quote unquote out of fighting shape because it was early in the season. He didn't wrestle. He didn't fight until November. Well, he just had a fight like 2 weeks ago.
The black eye proves it. He still
has the black eye.
Oh, yeah.
And so he is in prime fighting shape right now. I do not think I will be.
I think you are his top contender.
Well, we might be in. No, I've got him. Sorry, I can't. I'm out of his weight class. I probably weigh. I am a heavyweight right now. He is not.
I wouldn't want you to hurt him. You're exactly right.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
All right. Well, we've covered the AM World Champions. Congratulations to them. Congratulations, of course, to all the top finishers there. We've covered the preserve. I think we're going to go ahead and put a bow on this and call the regular show. We will, of course, have after show action where we're going to quickly talk about some other things that may or may not be disc golf related, and also we're going to have a giveaway. I'm going to definitely have to ramp up because I know whatever we had last week was pretty incredible. Oh, I think it was the signed DD3.
Yeah. I've got the disc member box that I never handed you.
We got
for
a disc member box,
to.
and then with a few extra pros in town, I'll probably scoop up a few extra signatures for you guys, and then we'll stockpile some items so that we can have those for some future giveaways.
Did you see if they had any sort of disc sales at the Celebrity Pro-Am? Was there anybody that had special discs? I know you said the Discraft. There was a player's pack that's phenomenal, but were there extra?
I don't believe so.
So I might have to grab a disc here because what I'd like to do is get a signature from maybe all the celebrities and have that as one of our Patreon giveaways.
Yeah, well, careful what you promise.
I'm not promising anything, but I said what I'd like to do.
All right, guys, we are going to close it out. We got to thank Bradley Williams. Congratulations to him. It was pretty awesome to see, and great battle still put on by the other competitors on the card, including your Ricky Wysocki and whatnot to try and chase him down. But when it was all said and done, Bradley Williams, your champion. Thank you for joining us and making it happen there, Bradley. Also, congrats to Paige Pierce. Had a ton of fun in the booth. We'll talk about that in the after show. But thanks to everyone that was part of the broadcast this week so that we could have another successful Preserve Championship weekend. In the after show, we've got a giveaway. We ramble on about some other things that are disc golf related or otherwise. You can also reach out to us via Facebook or the chat on YouTube, and we'll try and address any questions, comments, or concerns you have. Probably roll our eyes at the stupid shit Disc Blaster says, and we'll answer everyone else that comes to us with anything of legitimate significance. For Johnny V and myself, Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy, that's podcast number 409. Stick around. We'll have some after show. We'll see you in a moment when you step inside the Smashbox.
Thank you to our $2 and above patrons. Your name is listed below in the credits. If you are interested in being listed as a producer in the Smashbox TV credits and supporting this and other fine podcasts, please visit patreon.com/SmashboxTV.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Smashbox TV Podcast 409's After Show.
We were going to come back a little quicker, but Terry had a little chocolate mouth going. He was chewing on something, a little snack.
That's not a euphemism for anything either. It's a little Milky Way. I
wasn't going to share the brand. They don't sponsor us.
I'll take a sponsorship. I normally am not snacking, especially on sweets this late, but
no, you don't.
It was
rarely.
I love my life. It was a very hectic day today.
I've got some chocolate peanut butter mix if you want some, Terry.
Oh, I do.
It's pretty tasty. This is what I snack on during the broadcasts. So I usually have it here because the broadcasts run, now that we're at Midwest, the timing is a little bit better. You know, we usually get done with our FPO round about 1:30 to 2, so not too bad for lunch. But when we're on the East or the West Coast, everything kind of gets pushed into funny timing. So I usually have a little snack available to me so I can munch on it while I'm directing cameras. I'm sure they love it as they hear me probably. Ready one?
I certainly don't have that issue. This weekend I went back to one of my, I don't want to say plays. That's not it. Not agenda strategies. In that, I would simply fast from the night before, and then we're up for me relatively early, and then I intentionally do not have anything before the FPO round starts. Then we all stand down for 45 minutes to an hour, where typically you would get something to eat for lunch, but I skip that, and then don't have anything to eat until after MPO. So it's a full, sometimes 18 to 20 hour fast, and it just makes it super easy because then I'm not thinking about, oh man, that didn't sit well, or just any of those types of things. And so it's just easier if I just decide, and then I'm not, my stomach's not trying to process anything come the afternoon round, and I'm not getting extra tired or anything of that nature. That was the route I went this weekend. And it's the one thing that I do on the other side, though, is being in the booth. I want to make sure that I'm as hydrated as possible. The downside to that is I have a very, very small bladder.
Yeah.
And
yes,
it's incredible to watch Nate or Val not use the restroom once in a 4-hour broadcast, and I do.
This guy
3 or 4 or 5 times sometimes. And that's because I'm drinking an insane amount of water. But we handle it very differently.
I get a little bit jealous because I will sit usually with a cup kind of like this size, is the size of almost the size of height of my hand. Now, what size? Like a little bigger than a pint glass.
I was going to say it's probably a 16 or maybe
16 ounce. I fill that with water, and I drink it during the broadcast. Everybody else in the control room at one point says, "Replay 10-1." 10-1 is the code for I'm getting up to leave for a couple seconds to go to the bathroom, rather than saying I'm going to go use the restroom. They just say 10-1. Tosi started it, I believe. I'm the one guy that can't do that. There's not a single moment when I can step away from my computer, because usually our commercials, if they're longer, 2 to 3 minutes, we're doing picture in picture. Other than that, we get 1-minute breaks. And there are times that I get to like hole 16 and my eyes start to cross. And I'm just like, I got to get through 2 more holes. And then we go to the after show where we always have the 3-minute ad break between the end of the last putt and the after show, we'll call it, the OTB. And that's when I get my bathroom break. But it's a little bit nerve-wracking when I watch you like stand up, you're commentating as you stand up, like, we'll be right back after these commercials, and you bolt.
Yeah, I run.
You literally run.
I mute my headset and I run off to the restroom.
And then you come back, usually in time. But if not, you might hear Nate or Val pick up where you left off as you kind of get in just a couple seconds late. And I just think, like, that son of a, like, you have the smallest, like, you're 3 times you went to the bathroom. I don't get to go once, Miller. I don't get to go once.
You do have the advantage, though. You're here alone in this
I am.
studio. So if you had to get creative, you could.
I could get creative.
You could.
I have never done it. But if I could if I needed to get creative, I definitely could.
All right, I'm going to read a few things off the board quickly. Alan had asked, is Cadence, I almost called her the wrong name again, is Cadence Burge the youngest FA1 AM Worlds winner?
She's 15. Gotta think that she
has to that conversation
so.
at least has to be had, or that is a maybe a fair guess or assessment. I think back, probably. I was going to say maybe a Valerie Mandahano. She won 6 years ago. How old is she now? Yeah, 6 years ago, she won juniors under 19, but she might have only been like 15 or 16 when she did it. That's a good question. I'm gonna guess, without doing any research, I'm gonna guess that's quite possible. Darren says, I got my first open win this weekend at a fundraiser tournament, not sanctioned, won a playoff after one hole.
Congratulations, Darren.
Darren, congratulations. That's awesome. Video on YouTube, or it didn't happen though?
Yeah, who's covering that?
Yeah, and how many people are in the fundraiser? You and one other? That's it? Just two of you? No. Seriously though, congratulations. Galactic Conqueror says, I'm still high off my Golden State Warrior Dubs 2022 NBA champs. Just got my victory t-shirt in the mail today.
Meh.
That sounds good. Sure.
We'll
go for it.
I'm happy for the people.
Terry, how difficult is it for you to keep track of the YouTube chat while doing live commentary? Do you use PEDs? I am going to say, personally, I feel like I'm good with it. If it legitimately distracted from what I was doing as a commentator in a truly impactful way, where I felt like it genuinely distracted me, I would obviously I'd quit doing it. I think there's one of the reasons why I'm capable of doing it with any amount of fluidity.
You're stealing information.
Is
from these people.
Is largely because that was something that I did from our early stages. Mm-hmm. It was something that happened, and of course, every Tuesday night, in a sense, I'm still doing that. So to kind of keep a wandering eye loosely on the chat, of course, depending on what's going on, how fast it's moving. Clearly, there's things I miss. I think there was something really good in one of the chats recently that I had totally missed one of the weekends. But I personally, it's funny to me how many people take note of it and think that it's like a special power. I don't know. I guess it's just what I know. But I would be the first to admit, if I felt like it really hurt what I was doing on air, I would stop it immediately. I mean, I want the broadcast to be as good as possible, and that chat is secondary. But as Johnny just said, part of the reason why I used to pay so much attention to it is because when we had a much smaller crew and a lot more difficulties, it was great when somebody could be like, oh, hey, you're back from commercial, but you're muted. Or, such and such is happening. And you guys really acted as our immediate reaction soundboard, feedback board. And sometimes it was very useful. Now, if you come on there and say, oh, Terry's still on here, he still sucks. Okay, well, that's...
he's not wrong.
Yeah, but nothing's changing as a result of that. But if you go on there and say, hey, we're hearing a hot mic somewhere, those are great pieces of feedback that I like to know, and I always did know, and you guys were crucial to that. So I just feel like I have a trained eye for that in some regard.
And I know I'm biased. I do think you are the best play-by-play that we have.
Thanks.
With Charlie Eisenhood a very close second.
No.
I just like Charlie's voice. His cadence is very good. I love that you have particularly the most disc golf knowledge of any of our commentators, as far as, as I always joke, there was a few times Mo in the in the broadcast room this weekend was like, how did he know that? Like, what? Really? Because you were at one point we were talking about the AM Worlds winners, and they were going through the women and the men, and you were just rattling off names. And he's like, how does he know? I'm like, well, he just did US AM Nats, but Terry knows all these whatever. And Mo's like, oh my god, this guy, he's just a savant or something dumb. But that's not what I really
dumb.
Yeah, that's not what I really. This weekend, I felt that Nate Doss was as good as I've ever heard him. And I know Nate's gotten his fair share of doubters and whatever. We've all said
as we all have.
Commentators are a dime a dozen, and everyone has their preference. I listened to a lot of the things that Nate had said, and I really enjoyed his commentary this particular weekend, more so than I have even in other weekends. And I've said for the last couple months he's getting very good. I really did enjoy what he did this weekend. So shout out to Nate Doss for doing a great job.
Yeah, and I'll elaborate on that just for a moment in the fact that, like a golfer or like any other skill set that people have, we haven't been together in a month. There was largely the West Coast Swing, the Portland Open, Beaver State Fling, Masters Cup.
So beforehand, like Bradley Williams, you guys went out and practiced, and
we got our mic positioning just right and really worked through all of that. No, of course there's an element of rust, even if you're prepped and ready to go and you feel like you know the course, the people, blah blah blah. You had the press conference. There's still an element of getting back in the swing of things, and just Ian and Philo largely have been your commentators for the large part of the last month, and just stepping back into that role. There's a few things that you're just knocking some rust off, and whether they're obvious or not to the viewers, hopefully they're not, but internally there still are a few things that you're trying to always fix and adjust and dial in and perfect. And we talked about that. We hadn't worked together in a month, so it was good to be back out there. As always, I have an incredibly good time. I'm blessed that when we're done with the broadcast each day, there's we're social. We almost always have then dinners together. Sometimes we play games. I learned how to play Monopoly Go, the card game this weekend.
My son loves that game.
Yeah, it was. So we did a little bit of that. They're always working on 100 other things. People have no idea just how busy they are, in addition to the commentating, because they're running a successful brewery, and then they're like very social and active people outside of all of those other things. So it was another great weekend in Bend, and I'm blessed to have it. Brian said, by the way, one of the comments that came in on YouTube this weekend was something to the effect of some guy hating me. You're so dramatic. You're watching like one of the biggest birdie fests on the final day of this incredibly birdieable course. And to be fair, I don't feel like I ever manufacture excitement. I may think of an extra dramatic like scenario or angle. I never manufacture excitement, because if I just can't fake excitement. I just thought, really? I'm so dramatic? I mean, isn't that what this championship Sunday, with a highly contested race and this incredible battle taking place? As always, to each their own. If you don't like me, I don't care. Hit mute. Or as one guy who said,
where's your mute button? Hold on.
One guy who did come at me with something additionally dickish, more than normal. I said, hey, I hear you. I'm totally all about you. Just do me a favor and just hit that Alt F4 buttons on your keyboard. You'll be just fine. And well, unfortunately, that was the end of it. So, reading the comments, somebody had asked about doing more than the Great Dane and eating cheese curds. What else do we recommend?
For Madison, there's a lot of really good live music venues in Madison, small and large. I don't know particularly who's playing this weekend in Madison, if any. I know tonight, Toad the Wet Sprocket, Bare Naked Ladies, and somebody else were playing in the Madison area. So
nice.
That's your jam, by all means. I don't know who else. A lot of these bands are coming from Summerfest, which is in Milwaukee. So if you want to if you have a day off and you want to come to one of the largest music festivals in the world, drive an hour to Milwaukee and come check it out. But if you're dead set on staying in Madison, live concert venues, there's the two lakes, Lake Mendota and Lake Monona, I believe, right in the center of town. Beautiful walking around there, the downtown area. Go check out UW's campus. It's a very beautiful campus. It kind of encompasses a lot of the Madison area. Trying to think of what else.
A couple breweries. Ale Asylum is one that
Ale
jumps
Asylum.
out. New Glarus isn't that far. New Glarus that has Spotted Cow. New Glarus is, I feel like, one of the larger breweries that people will talk about anytime they visit or are part of Wisconsin. So New Glarus is not that far away. And then, kind of as Holly was alluding to, with both the Zobel course, also with Wilderness, a couple of great courses to play. There's a number of other courses. Some are in play for the tournament, some aren't. But you can certainly find your way to a few of the other disc golf courses around here as well. So, yeah, there's a lot of activity. If you're into mountain biking, that's also an option. And then, as Bradley was talking about, you're not that far from Devil's Lake and or Wisconsin Dells, two other attractions and very touristy but yet worthwhile things to go do.
And even if you're not into the water park version of Wisconsin Dells, it's a quote unquote tourist trap.
Oh, for
There's
sure.
Tommy Bartlett's
Ski show.
I don't actually
Couple
know
magic shows.
I don't know if they do the ski show anymore or not. But there's the I think it's the Tommy Bartlett science thing. Go for a duck ride.
Ride the ducks.
These old like 50s ducks that are land in water. Somewhere I've got a certificate from when I was a child that says I'm an official
Duckhead?
No,
I'd call you a duckhead every day.
Well, I've got a license.
Duckhead.
I've got a license to drive the ducks apparently from when I was a child. But it's a really great place for families in general, the Madison area. So go check it out.
Plenty of things. You guys are discussing and arguing back and forth about the playoffs. We'll let you have that argument. You ever have anything positive to say? No, he does not. If you're talking about Disc Blaster, Smash. Yeah, I got all that. Sorry. Nice shirt. Thanks, Carolina. I appreciate that.
A little flowers on it.
I showed up today and somebody said that exact thing as I showed up to the course. It was great seeing Paige at one point during round one this weekend. She's like, Terry, where are you? Clearly she didn't get the memo that I was in the booth, but it was funny because I hadn't seen her for a few weeks, and so it was great to actually finally see her, and she's all ready to go for this weekend, and she'll be at the Celebrity Skins as we talked about. Nate has emerged as a top commentator. He has grown a lot in the area. He's a pretty smart guy, though. Yeah, and I've said this before. Nate also is I think he's getting more excited and more locked in week after week when we are doing it. He loves doing it, and you can love or hate any of us in our styles, but he loves doing it. And I think, as Johnny said, not that I had complaints, but I think he's also getting better. I mean, we're all honing our craft.
My favorite
There's no
is
end goal to that.
some of the people that one of their complaints about Nate is like how dramatic and excited he gets. Like almost like, hey, manufacturing. He's not manufacturing it. I see him.
Oh, yeah.
I see him during commercials. I see him when players miss putts. I see him like he lives his disc golf through these people. And maybe you don't like that. Maybe you do. But I see him get frustrated. I see him like throw his hands up. I see him stand up and, he'll cross his arms and he just has this look like, why would you do that? Why would you make that play? And I think thankfully, the smart things he says comes out, because I do believe sometimes he would like to ream out a player or two, but he doesn't. He goes forth with the proper way to do it. But I do see what he is going through on the course or in the booth from the people on the course, and none of it's manufactured, my friends.
No,
he lives and dies through this. Through these events, just like a lot of the players.
And I'd be remiss to not say this yet again. He doesn't have a favorite. He doesn't. And maybe a testament to that is one weekend you hear people on the board screaming, "Oh my God, he's got so much favoritism for person X." Literally the next weekend, why does he hate person X so much? Like. And to me, that in a sense proves like he's just calling the shots. He does not wake up. I'm going to almost go as far as using the phrase, he doesn't care. He wants to see the best golf by the best players, and he has no affiliation to a sponsor, whether that's Discraft or anyone else. He has no affiliation in the sense that, like, I'm pulling for blank because they play for Discraft. He just doesn't operate that way. And there's a lot of people that really read into it, and I cannot stress enough how much he doesn't care. He wants the best golf and the best golfers and the best conditions, and it to play out to provide the most competitive, most compelling experience, whoever that is. Because let's face it, let's really look at it. Every single one of our golfers, there is, of course, a unique storyline to them. And so if Albert Tom wins one weekend, there's an incredible storyline. And if Calvin Heimberg or Kyle Klein or Bradley Williams or Paul MacBeth, there's a storyline to every single one of those players. And our job is to develop, engage, bring out, discuss that storyline. And it's not personal. It is so not personal. And I wish people would believe me and understand that, because we've had these talks and I know Nate very well. And I would say obviously the same of myself. You know, a lot of people think I'm just a homer for so-and-so. I feel the same way. I want the best golf. I would like to talk about the DGPT interviews for the Preserve event, having a soft backdrop, pulsating back and forth, and the wind outside was absolutely, in caps, nauseating. Let me just quickly, I'm sorry you felt that way. I will just say, I didn't even notice.
No, I didn't either.
So that's interesting, and I'm not dismissing you. I'm just saying I paid attention to every single interview. I had no idea what you're talking about. I mean, I understand what you're explaining. I had no idea it was happening.
Yeah,
I didn't either.
I didn't notice it particularly. The only thing I noticed was during our interview with Bradley, we had the Kevin Jones concert behind him.
Yeah, that wasn't my favorite.
No, it was unfortunate because I talked to the cameraman and we did a quick sound test and we were like, hey, yep, it sounds good. I can hear you out of both mics. Good, we're good to go. I said, just make sure Bradley eats the mic because they've got the music in the background. So if he's right in front of the mic, it's going to pick up his voice better and maybe drown out a little bit of the background. Unfortunately, the interviewer, I think, stood to the side. So Bradley turned almost like not quite 90 degrees, but like 85 degrees and wasn't speaking directly into the mic. And so I think that didn't help the situation. I could still hear him.
Yeah.
But you could definitely hear the Kevin Jones concert behind him.
Yeah.
So that made it a little bit difficult, unfortunately, for his post-round interview. It's
They
tough.
wanted to get partying, and unfortunately, it was to start immediately after those
That's
final
right.
putts on Saturday. And one of the FPO players said, "Oh, you missed Kevin playing your song," and they shout out you get Kevin's officially immortalized a song after a particular saying I must have said at one time or another, and there's an official song out there. Yeah, I'll have to hear that in person someday. Galactic says, I remember seeing Nate at De La when he was still relatively young pup. He would have never imagined he could accomplish what he has. That's very true. Terry and Nate sound good together. Professional, so is Charlie. Thinks, is there a podcast that comes on right after the last round on Sunday to cover the highlights? Not that I know of.
Not directly after. I know the Pro Tour has talked.
It's called Tuesday Night Smashbox. What are you talking about?
That's the best one. And why would you go anywhere else? There's been talks about doing like a post-game show. The problem is a couple-fold. One, the control room doesn't want to deal with that. I'm not going to lie.
Burnout's real.
Yeah, we've just spent 2 4-hour rounds. The last thing we want to do is sit and listen to people. Even God bless OTB for their after show stuff. I don't even want to sit through that, for the love of God. When that last putt drops, my brain goes, cool, let's wrap this up. I got food to eat and people to hang out with and children to talk to and whatever. Like, I just want to be done. So, none of us particularly will want to run an after show. Now, they could get another crew to come in and log in and do all of that, maybe a half hour after the thing ends. That could happen. Anybody could do one. You know, Terry could do it. I could sit suddenly. I could just turn on this camera and start talking about the golf again. I don't plan on doing that. But as far as I know that Ulta World does like a a live wrap-up show in their Discord where they talk about stuff, but that podcast usually comes out the next day. And I think you need to be an Ultra World supporter in order to get in on that. So it's not free. Yeah, I don't know. There's as of right now, there's nothing, and maybe that's a space that's open for, for that immediate like reaction to whatever that after show that literally starts maybe a half hour after the event ends. But
yeah, and I'll go ahead and piggyback on that and say there's definitely the chance, and I'll always continue to lob it out there. There's the chance that during some events on some weekends, depending on my travel schedule, of some kind of nightly recap. And I'll admit, as much as I may love doing it on Thursday night, or in this case Friday night and Saturday night, man, Sunday night, it can be really tough to like gear up, even if I am at a hotel and not flying out till the next day. Excuse me, after taking in the action and being out there on a Sunday night, I feel like I would be qualified to host something of that nature, but it's a matter of, like, as Johnny just said, you're running on fumes at that point by the end of the weekend. But yeah.
And Matt says, yeah, but most of us want more. We're hyped up after a round and then nothing. After a big game, he usually goes to Sports Center to watch commentary about the game that just finished. I get it, because
sure,
a lot of people will do that with football or whatever. And I think the best way to get something like that is the internets. Go to God, I can't believe this is. Go to Reddit. Go to whatever find a Discord and chat. Come up with a group of friends that are watching, some golfers, and chat about it. Create like a group chat where you can sit and go, because I feel you, because for many years I did the same thing. After an event ended, the first thing I did was go online and kind of see how did people enjoy the broadcast? What are people saying? What did we miss? Things like that. I don't do that nearly as much anymore. Because I feel like the product is at a point where nobody talks about the broadcast anymore. People talk about the play, which is what we want. You don't want to, unless something obvious happens, or you always get there's like 3 or 4 people out there that just, no matter what you do, they're going to hate it. I agree though. There could be, I think that is definitely an open space. And I know the Pro Tour at some point will probably want to fill it, but right now, set up a little studio, get yourself a webcam, and become that.
I want to tune into the Disc Blaster after show.
God, become that show. Become that show. See, you can always maybe take. I don't know how legal this is, but I'm going to say it. Take clips from the broadcast if you can while you're watching. Just record little clips and play them, or just sit and talk about it. Bring up the PDGA page with the scores. Terry's done that before, and just chat about it. Maybe you've got some good takes. Maybe you're not interested in that and you want someone else to do that, which is completely fair. But I think it's definitely an open space.
Yeah, and I see Matt just write and say, like, player interviews about what just happened. Some of that's just so tough because a lot of these players also gassed or exhausted, or shot 3 under and they needed really to shoot more like a 13 under, and your champions or your top performers maybe want to go celebrate, or they're going to the next Kevin Jones, rave or whatever. And these are not to be dismissive of all the ideas. We hear you. It's just logistically and practically, there's more challenges to it. And I think about when some of our players are either camping or staying in a given area, and then maybe you have 1 or 2 or 3 qualified people that could go do this. They might be, what if they're staying 20 minutes away? That's the last thing a player feels like doing is, hey, I'm gonna, I just got done competing. It's Sunday night. I'd love to drive 20 minutes over to your hotel to then have one of these shows. Again, it's not a crazy idea, and we're not saying it can't happen.
No, I'm
just explaining some of the logistical challenges that are real.
I have said for a long time, and I clearly I can't do it myself because have a different aspect. I would love to have a spot for players after they come off the course. You pick one player from each card and you sit down and have a 5-minute interview with them. Well, until the next one. And it doesn't matter how they finish. Just, hey, guess what? On card 7, maybe you start with like the 10th card or something, and we're going to pick Gannon Burr off of this card, and we're going to sit and chat with him, or Alden Harris, and just, hey, how'd your round go? What could have gone better? Where were your mistakes? And just stack those, and then have those for, you can release those or talk about those in like an after show like that.
Sure.
To get that type of feedback that you're looking for. And, I don't necessarily know if it would work with the winner, because we already do the on the spot interview, and then they go and do the quick, the 3 to 4 minute interview in the tent and move on. But you could definitely talk with second place. I don't think I personally don't think we talk with second place nearly enough. Does Ricky want to talk about losing? Maybe not, but they're athletes, and they kind of have to at some point.
Oh, did I tease you guys? I've got Ricky info. Yeah, okay. I can't share that. All right. Question from Disc Blaster. Can we get a status update on Elaine King commentary? Is she done yet? No, she's not.
No,
I believe the Pro Tour made a very specific post, which I'm sure you saw, and you just like to troll, but made a very specific post saying that she is going to continue to do everything that she was scheduled to do. I don't have it in front of me what those events, but the Pro Tour also put out a post announcing essentially the roles and media teams throughout the rest of the year. They made that post a week or two ago, and it's not in front of me, but I'm sure it's on the Pro Tour page. They made that very specific post.
I believe Elaine's next job is European Open.
Sounds about right. Yep.
And then Great Lakes. And then Worlds.
Okay. All right. I'm going to read a few more things here.
That's just tentative, but that's kind of
Galactic. Yeah. It goes on to say that DB's a DB. Yep. Gotcha. I bet Terry could get lots of super chats going during live stream after rounds. I've always donated. Well, I appreciate that, Ray. And I'm not going to lie. Sometimes bribing works me. It does work for me. Terry is too lazy to do the live streams. You nailed it, Disc Blaster. You know me so well, because most people, when they think about me, they're like, yeah, that guy's just lazy. I caught one of his post-round shows, and it was good. Thank you, Sue. Why haven't we blocked Disc Blaster? To his credit, we say it every week, he rides that thin line of being like a troll and an asshat and a D-bag, but rides the thin line just thin enough, or just well enough that
he's not insulting.
He's literally like one single post away on every night from just getting banned. And then he'll have to log into one of his other accounts. But like every night, he's like one wrong post away from getting banned. And to his credit, much of a jackass as he can be, to his credit, he finds a way to ride that line usually every week. But if I was a betting man, which I am, the ban hammer's going to come. It's just a matter of when, as liberal as we've been with it. I noticed more times of no commentary and letting the golf happen. Appreciated the silence, but like the Terry and Nate combo in the booth. Thank you, Eric. We all said it. We try and treat sometimes silence like it's the third commentator, and I would like to think that Nate and I, specifically together, we very much concentrate on the idea of sometimes letting just the play and sitting back and enjoying the silence in the moment when warranted.
I know Mo's not used to that, because every once in a while Mo's like they're live. Are their mics on? And you're, because it's not unheard of that maybe you mute the mics during a commercial to say something or to talk to Nate about whatever planning you're doing. And sometimes maybe the mics will forget to get unmuted, and you'll be like, and someone will tell you mics are muted. And you're like, oh yeah, and then you have to restart your thought. Nobody knows the better. They just think it's silence, which is fine. But
often
often it is just silence.
Yes, it's so funny, Sue. As long as I've been in the game, it's really funny to think of WCs as an abbreviation for World Championships. But presuming that's what you're asking, Nate has 3 of them. Nate Doss has 3 world titles, which is more than most people ever even realize or think about.
I took WC as water closet. Like, how many bathrooms does he have?
That's definitely it.
I'm not joking. That's what I thought, because we had talked about
about bathrooms earlier.
Yeah, because we were talking about
who this side of the pond
I have no
uses
clue.
the term water closet. Nobody.
I don't know.
You have to go to Finland. or some other country. Nobody here uses water closet.
Europe in general. I think,
that's what I'm saying.
yeah.
Nobody in the U.S.
And
when
I get
it says Sue in Raleigh, I'm guessing she's not meaning Raleigh, Finland. So
probably not.
So WC's.
And I understand that.
But
when I saw that, that is what I thought. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to lie.
Hey. Person X is always up to something. Okay, I noticed more times. Oh, yeah, we talked about that. If no one is trashing, I'm not the one, blah, blah, blah. I don't care. Nate's got 3. Yes, we talked about that. I was there for all 3, especially being his first in Pennsylvania. That was pretty incredible. And he was like 19. And then like went and worked his IT job the next week because he was not a full-time disc golfer. So pretty incredible. Most of us want more. Yep, got that. All right. Johnny, let's work on our
I was going to just about to say, let's talk about patreon.com/SmashboxTV if you'd like to be eligible for our giveaways. To be automatically entered into a weekly giveaway, you can go to patreon.com/SmashboxTV. You can support us at any level. There's a lot of different options. The bigger, the better is what we always say. But, you know, we understand.
That's what I keep doing with the stomach.
Times are tough right now, and for some people, so I understand if it's only $1 a month for like the next couple months. But once inflation goes down, we are expecting everybody to increase that Patreon. But I'm keeping track right now. Just but just note you're on my naughty list. No, just kidding. For $1 a month, you are eligible to get our weekly giveaway. Usually it's a disc. It's almost always a disc. Sometimes it's the disc member box. Which will have up to $40 worth of value in it for $25. This week it's going to be something. It's going to be some disc of some sort. We'll figure something out. We talked about maybe something from the Pro-Am, maybe something from USWDGC. We'll get something worked out for you. Certainly. We have 185 people eligible, so it went up. Some people listened last week and went to smashbox.tv/weekly giveaways. And entered in. We had like 5 people enter in last week. So it wasn't just Robert and normally it was Gordon and Rob were usually the only 2 that went in, but we had like 3 or 4 more people. So thanks a lot for listening and getting submitted. You are all eligible to be given a prize this week. So Terry, how do we want to handle this today?
I have to say, we just had the 3rd iteration of the Preserve Championships. So I think the 3rd person that we draw is the one that we give this wonderful gift to.
All right. Our first number is 28. Our second number is 109. Terry, higher or lower than 109?
It's lower.
Third number is 127. Terry, you're wrong. You're fired from the show. Goodbye.
Thank you. Finally.
It only took 7 years. Number 127. Let me pull that up. Yeah, that's in that sheet. 127 is Jeremy Thibodeau. Jeremy Thibodeau. Supporter at a $3 level.
Appreciate you.
Thank you, Jeremy. We already have your address out of Kansas, so we will get that to you. So thank you for being a supporter, Jeremy.
Yes. A couple other side notes that could have been brought up hours ago. It is officially confirmed. Maybe this is your not so exclusive info for your fantasy leagues or any other weird reasons that you might want to know, or legitimate reasons. Kristen Tatar will not be in attendance. That is now official. There was a lingering possibility. She had made a post saying that her significant other, Silver, had COVID. She did not. She continued to test negative for COVID. I had reached out to Silver just a few days ago. Silver is on the mend. He's actually feeling better, which is awesome. He's all good to go. Kristen continues to be good to go. However, rather than coming here for a very brief period of time and then having to go back, they will not be making the trip and will not be here, so they'll be at the European Open and I think Sula as well, but for sure at the European Open. And then we'll look forward to having them both back in August is what they had told me. So Little insider tip: no Silver or Kristen here, which of course is a little unfortunate. Well, a lot unfortunate. The number 1 rated woman in the world. We say it all the time. You can only play against the people that are in front of you. Would you love everyone here? Of course you would. That's a given. However, these circumstances are saying otherwise. So, yeah, Kristen Tatar not here, but hopefully they continue to be on the mend. Quick side note:
she did like a 18-hour Reddit AMA the other day.
And I, in all honesty, I thought that was made up. I did not at first. When I initially, like in the very first few moments of seeing and discovering that, I'm like, that's not her. Somebody else is being a jackwagon or whatever. And apparently, in fact, it was. But at first, I did not. And I only say that because it seemed a little off of her brand. Not that she's not open, but it just didn't seem like something what I know of her. And I think it's awesome. I didn't get a chance to go read it. But yeah, I will be the first to admit I did not believe it when I first saw it. So that's pretty cool that she had done that. As a side note, I think I don't know if it was officially announced already or not, but it has been announced now, and I'm going to repeat it. The Samui Swine is going to be taking place next year, and I'm going to put it all in your brains and on your calendars and maps and everything else for now. February of 2023, I believe they're planning the pro weekend for professionals, and I think it's going to be an A tier, is the 3rd, 4th, and 5th of February, and the weekend before is going to be the AM weekend, the weekend before or a few days before. Somewhere in that time frame. First week of February is what you need to know. You're going to probably find me there. And I know also trying to find other events that are going to be taking place the week after over on that part of the world, and looking forward to exploring some of that. So I'm going to put it out there because if you keep talking about it enough, eventually you'll find yourself in Thailand where you belong. It's pretty awesome. So looking forward to that. All right, Johnny, you got anything else you need to add here before we...
No, I think
we close this bad boy down. I was hoping it would be a short podcast tonight. So much for that.
No, we can kind of wrap this up, Terry.
Okay. Well, with that, we're going to go ahead and call it. I'd like to thank all of you guys for joining us tonight. All of our Patreon subscribers. We say it all the time. We love you more, and that's because you bribe us. And
we do.
I mean, we're just being honest here.
You're clearly better people.
Yes. Better looking, better sounding, better acting,
better smelling,
all of those things. Better for us, and we appreciate that. For Johnny V and myself, Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy, this has been Podcast 409's After Show. Looking forward to seeing you guys for the USWDGC this week. Looking forward to so much more live coverage as we're just in the middle of the season. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week when you step inside the Smash Box.